Just found out my ex-wife has been feeding my kids turpentine. And for those of you who don't know what turpentine is, well, it is a strong smelling, clear liquid made from pine trees. And it is mostly used as a paint thinner, a cleaner for art brushes, and a material in chemical making. And it is also highly toxic to humans if ingested. And exposure to its concentrated fumes can cause severe respiratory, skin, and neurological issues. And so it is very, very dangerous, and it can also be fatal if ingested. And if you do ingest it, it causes severe stomach pain, vomiting, kidney failure, and central nervous system depression. And like I said, you can die from it. And so this title alone is horrifying, but let's get into it. The first post reads, I found this out, like I do most things about life with their mother. Through the kids, 7 male and 5 female, as communication has been pretty much non-existent between the ex and I since our split 6 years ago. Before anyone jumps to conclusions, no, I don't ever press my kids for information. I've worked very hard to establish an uninhibited, open, no topic is off limits type of relationship with my kids. Even though I've only got them every other weekend, I want them to be comfortable enough to fully express themselves and speak their mind freely around me. This has led to several discoveries about certain aspects of their life that their mother has asked them not to reveal to me. Something I am very much against. I don't believe any child should have to hold secrets between their parents. It isn't their responsibility and is something I would never ask of them. That being said, they've come out with nuggets of wisdom such as we shouldn't be drinking tap water because the government puts chemicals in there that makes us docile and obedient. Santa isn't real, but Jesus is, and the Bible is 100% fact. Controversial topic, I understand. And most recently, that the government says turpentine is poisonous, but it is actually good for you. What the hell do I do here? If I speak to my ex about this, or even let slip that I know what's going on, she isn't going to have an honest conversation about it with me, and I fear that she'll just press the kids even harder to keep things from me. I don't want their heads filled with this rubbish, but I feel so powerless to stop this. All I can do is try to teach them to think critically, but that is only going to be so effective when they're getting told all of this nonsense in fact. Help. Edit. I spoke to my children about it and recorded the conversation to ensure there was no confusion about what was being said. They were being fed a spoonful of turpentine every day by their Nana for the past 4 weeks while they were all away on holidays. Oh my God. But there is zero chance my ex wasn't aware this was happening. Definitely turpentine. 100% pure gum turpentine, my boy said, the bottle read. The distilled stuff, he said. They even started singing that Mary Poppins song, a spoonful of sugar helps the turpentine go down. Feels like I'm in an alternate timeline. Thank you everyone for being so helpful. I appreciate it so much. Edit. Talks screen won't be happening until we get a referral. Poison's hotline has no literature on hand for chronic exposure to turpentine, let alone in children, but the kids don't seem symptomatic. We will be visiting either a GP or the hospital first thing tomorrow for a full checkup, and a report will be made separately to that of the medical mandatory report. I don't really see a scenario playing out where CPS is not getting involved here, and I can't not have my kids medically assessed knowing that this has been going on. Currently preparing for the shitstorm that is bound to ensue. And just, oh my God, this is so heartbreaking. These poor kids are being fed literal poison every single day. I mean, the thing that is used as paint thinner and also just should never be ingested is being fed to this kids because this mom seems to be listening to, crazy conspiracies. And, oh my God, I just feel so bad for these kids. But let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, Sorry, but you found out your ex-wife is poisoning your kids and your response is to get on Reddit instead of taking your kids to the hospital and contacting authorities? Hopefully, this is as fake as it seems. And the OP responds and says, ex-wife, the kids seemed asymptomatic, but I had not been made aware of this. I probably would have never known anything was up. That being said, my mother is a nurse and we did have the kids looked at. Yes, I came to Reddit as one source among several for guidance because I have no clue what to do about this or even what my options were. I try not to act rash or emotionally impulsive when it comes to my children. I try to weigh up my options. My father has a muddy history, so even though he's not the same person he was 15 years ago, a CPS investigation has potential to forcefully alienate my children from their grandparents. That's just one example of what factors into this. I wish this was fake. And someone responds and says, WTF, asymptomatic? Dude, they've told you she's poisoning them. You should have immediately taken them to the hospital, regardless of whether you can see symptoms. I don't care if your mom is a nurse. She can't run tests by looking at them. Anyway, I still am not convinced this is real, but if it is, what you just said about your dad makes this all more confusing and sketchy. Take your kids to the hospital and seek legal help. And the OP responds and says, we spoke to the hospital, man. We called ahead. There was literally nothing they were prepared to do for us other than what we had already done. They wouldn't run tests unless the kids were exhibiting symptoms or they had a referral. Even after telling them what was going on, the nurse was very apologetic, but it is what it is. Best they could offer was a place 2 hours away that would not open until tomorrow anyway. I know what you're saying, but it just isn't that simple. And yeah, I understand that seems sketchy. I guess it kind of is. There is no legal help I could possibly get on a Sunday evening, and no way we could move things forward without rushing into it. We are going through everything tomorrow, properly and thoughtfully. Some other commenter says, Jesus Christ, record some evidence, send it to the cops, and have your ex imprisoned for child endangerment at the very least. This type of potato is going to start feeding them bleach or urine sooner than later. Not even joking. She is a dangerous level of stupid that your kids should not be forced to suffer. It is your responsibility to take action to protect them from her. And the OP responds and says, unfortunately, the only evidence I have is a secondhand verbal account of the testimony of a 7-year-old boy. He told my mother, his grandmother, who is a career nurse, who promptly told me what was going on. She's 50 shades deep into crazy conspiracy theories herself, and even she was mortified upon hearing this. My ex won't say or admit to anything, and I don't trust her to be honest. If her custody arrangement is on the line, it's all just conjecture at this point. And then the user responds to the OP here and says, hire a private eye, get evidence. It's your responsibility as a parent to protect your children. You can't be so passive. Do something. And then the OP responds and says, I agree, it is my responsibility. I have zero intention of being passive about this. I just see my current options hitting a lot of dead ends. That's why I've come here. If I'm going to go the legal route, I want to move it through clean, calculated, no room for error. He said / she said BS won't even get me a seat in the courtroom. Private investigator could be something worth following up though. Thank you. And then another commenter says, those poor kids. Good idea picking this idiot to mate with. And then the OP responds and says, yeah, look, I've got no good defense for that. Changed a lot after she got her ring though. There's a reason I'm not still with her. And then the OP comes back with an update the very next day, which reads as follows. So, I just found out through my kids that my ex-wife has been feeding them turpentine mixed with sugar or honey as a way to warm them, and also has been using it topically to treat mosquito bites. They are both kids. Reading up on what it does if you ingest it, because who the hell would ever think it's a good idea to drink paint thinner as medicine, It can be devastating, and it really doesn't take a whole lot to mess you up, especially if you're a child. Think 1 tablespoon could potentially be enough to change your life. Kind of messed up. I don't think talking to the ex is going to yield any results, and realistically, I don't even expect her to be honest about it anyway. My only evidence so far is the secondhand account of the testimony of a 7-year-old boy. He told my mom/his grandma, and she went and told me. Do I have any legal options here? Should I be collecting evidence, and if so, what kind? I honestly don't know what to do. I can't have my kids being fed literal poison, and to top it all off, they were saying, yeah, the government tells us it's poison, but it's actually good for you. This isn't the first time they've come out with little nuggets of conspiracy-soaked wisdom like this. Tap water makes you docile and obedient sort of stuff, but this one is truly terrifying. They were meant to go back to their mother today, but I've got them in my care until next weekend due to an undisclosed emergency that my ex sprung on me about an hour ago. Never mind that I'm starting a new job tomorrow, and I wasn't prepared in any way to look after them for a week with no notice. But please, if anyone here can give me a few tips or pointers, it would be so grateful. I'm stressing pretty bad about this. I don't know what to do. Edit, I'm located in Victoria, Australia, if that makes any difference to the situation. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One person says, and you didn't call law enforcement immediately when you found out? And I have to agree with this. And another commenter says, kids to the doctor for a checkup immediately. If they've been drinking paint thinner, odds are their doctor will be able to tell. If your kid's story checks out, then go to a lawyer first thing tomorrow morning. Heck, call around and see if you can find someone today. And file an emergency motion for sole custody. Talk to your lawyer about how best to approach the police with this. If your wife is feeding them poison and their doctor confirms it, then absolutely do not return the kids to her care. If you act promptly to amend custody, then violating any current order to protect them from their mother is reasonable. Down the line, I expect you'll want to get your kids into counseling. Having a professional to talk to them about their mother's disordered belief system will help immensely. You may want one as well for the support. And then the OP posts another post to r/askdoctors the same day, and it reads as follows. So, for the last 4 or so weeks, my kids have been ingesting a spoonful of turpentine every day and been using it topically to treat mosquito bites. 100% gum turpentine. My boy said the bottle read. Paint thinner. I've questioned them about it, and I have zero doubt this was happening. Now, I've wanted to book in for a tox screen and blood work, but would have to travel 2 hours to get it done. The only other option being police and CPS, both unfavorable options, or seeing a GP. What am I in for here? What damage would chronic ingestion of turpentine cause children? What are the things I should look out for? Would terps even show up in a screen in such small volume? And if there's anyone here from Victoria, Australia, would a GP be able to help initiate a tox screen? And let's get into some of the top comments here. One user says, you don't need a tox screen as such, and I doubt terps would even be something you could test for, especially at what sounds like a rural center and this long after exposure. More important is an examination and probably blood test for liver and kidney function, as chronic exposure could have led to some damage. Your GP can do this. To be honest, I imagine any of the options is going to lead to CPS being made aware, as it's a child safety issue, not implying anyone is at fault. Let's generously imagine your ex-partner misunderstood how to use turpentine for bites. Just there could be some education, etc., which keeps the kids safe in the future. And another user says, I'm really sorry that this is happening. I don't know much about the toxic effects of turpentine, and I'm not in Australia, but I am a forensic psychiatrist, and CPS does need to be involved, and your ex has to get a psych eval. Even if you are in a rural area, I know that both the law and the system in Australia are similar to the US, and that an abusive parent will be evaluated and treated. I have actually presented on psychopathic mothers at a conference sponsored by an Australian university, so we spoke a lot about the details of the system. And then the OP comes back the next day with another update, with an update on the situation. And let's get into it. It says, my kids have been medically assessed. They've had blood work done, testing for liver and kidney function, as well as any other abnormalities, and have undergone some minor testing. Thankfully, everything has come back clear, and they seem to be happy and in good health, apart from my daughter being a little upset about being jabbed with needles. There were, however, some very concerning statements made by my kids to the doctors who screened them, both with and without any family present. Everything said has been transcribed and documented in their discharge papers. CPS has since been informed of the situation. The situation has been reported to the police, and a medical release statement has been filed with them. They told me they would remain in contact with CPS and wait for their lead. The kids are legally staying within the care of myself and my family until further notice from Child Services. At this point in time, I've had no contact with my ex since all of this came out. I have a tip on a great family law legal representative whom I will contact in the very near future to discuss my steps moving forward, and about making a claim for primary custodial care. My family fully supports this decision, and we are all still incredibly shocked about this whole scenario. I am on the verge of having an absolute meltdown, but things actually seem okay right now. My kids are safe. I couldn't be more grateful for how supportive my family and friends have been over the last couple of days. Thank you to everyone who gave me their advice and support. I appreciate every single one of you. Please do not feed your children turpentine. And then the OP comes back a few months later with an update, and let's get into it. It reads, just an update on things since everything went down, and maybe provide a little clarity on a few key details. Not that it's necessary to me that you believe my story, Reddit being what it is and all, but bear with me as I haven't really spoken about the topic with anyone outside of my partner in a very, very long time. There will be a few additional details that won't be mentioned for discretionary reasons and active actions currently in place. Not very brief. Sorry. I'll start by stating that the kids have been in my full care since that first post and are very happy and healthy. The mother has placed the entirety of blame on the grandmother and remains steadfast in that stance to this very day. The month prior to my post, they spent camping as a family, the kids and their mom's immediate family. They spent that entire time in her care, and there is no way she wasn't privy to what was happening every goddamn day. The kids had a song to sing about it, all substantiated in statements taken from them. So, as a few have speculated, yes, this happened in regional Victoria, a couple hours from Melbourne. The hospital here could have taken the kids in for screening through ER, but they didn't have the facilities to actually test the blood work on site. The turnaround for a result, I was told, would have been a few days, possibly longer, as it had to get sent off. Alternatively, I could just wait until the following day to make the trip to the nearest facility that was capable of producing same-day results. We took that option. The kids were triaged the following day through ER, tested for organ functionality. Blood work came back clean. They were privately spoken to and assessed by on-site well-being officers, or whatever their title, and CPS was contacted through the hospital and a case opened. Note, yes, we do call them child protection here, even though they operate under the DFFH banner, but so does every community housing and disability support, in tangent with NDIS. So do with that information as you will. It's a broad department. We left with the medical reports, which included statements given by the children, and oh my God, were they being fed some wild facts about the world. That night, I made an informal statement at the local police station stating what the situation was and the actions taken, just so they had it on record. For those tracking the chronology of all of this, we are roughly 30 hours into the timeline from me first finding out. CPS conducted several interviews over the next month with all parties involved, as well as a house call to my residence. Not sure how extensively they interviewed the mom. They concluded the children unfit to be in the mother's care, but were comfortable in closing their case should they remain with me full time. Surprisingly, there was no legal order put into place. Apparently, they are happy to move on from a situation once comfortable with the results. Found a good law firm and started the legal process, which has been very slow due to an unsurprising lack of cooperation. Essentially, though, we have restricted the mother's access to supervised visitation and removed her paternal right as a legal actor regarding medical decisions. She has only seen them a handful of times in the 2 years following, despite constant efforts to facilitate visitation. The kids have had therapy, and I've spent many hours talking to them over the last 2 years, helping them navigate their way through this. They'll have a lot of questions they'll expect answers for when they're older, I'm sure. Currently, we have managed to secure scheduled visitation with the mother through a professional contact center, which facilitates supervised visits. It has been a wild ride, but we are incredibly lucky and happy to have the strong family unit we currently do, including my partner and her daughter, who have been next to us through most of this process. Please teach your kids it's safe to be honest and open with you. And this is the last time we have ever heard from the OP, but man, what a scary situation, and it could have ended up a lot worse. I mean, these kids could have possibly, gotten severely sick or had some sort of organ failure if this continued to go on and they didn't tell the OP about it. So this is best case scenario, I think. The OP ended up with custody, and hopefully he's able to, divorce her with no other issues. But like I said, what a scary situation. And that woman should not be allowed near kids, or really, anyone who she can influence forever, because she probably would continue to influence them and tell them all about her crazy conspiracies and, potentially poison them, which is what she was doing to her poor kids. But hopefully the OP's kids are happy and healthy, and hopefully the OP is doing well as well. And on to the next one. You know those things you buy that slowly become a part of your everyday routine? The ones where a few months later, you can't believe you ever lived without them? That's pretty much what happened with Quince for me. I picked up a few pieces from Quince because I wanted clothes that looked a little bit more elevated without spending luxury brand prices. And honestly, they've become some of my favorites. Whether I'm recording videos all day, grabbing a coffee, or heading out for the afternoon, these are some of the first things I reach for because they're comfortable. They fit well, and they still look great after wearing them over and over. And just to be completely candid, I love Quince. It has genuinely become one of my favorite places to buy clothes, hands down. And at this point, it's basically all I wear. So when they reached out about working together, I was stoked. And I was honestly stoked because I was already a customer. These are the Organic Cotton Classic Stretch Chino shorts, and they've been perfect for the hot summer weather. They're lightweight, incredibly comfortable, and they still look put together even on really hot days. To go with them, I've been wearing the 100% organic cotton mesh stitch sweater polo. It's one of those shirts that looks a lot nicer than a basic tee, but is just as comfortable to wear. And if I'm keeping it more casual, I've also been wearing the Japanese Lotus tee, which is unbelievably soft and has quickly become one of my go-to shirts. Another one of my favorites is the Organic Cotton Stretch Chino pants. They fit great, they're comfortable enough to wear all day, and they honestly feel much more premium than I expected for the price. Everything I've ordered has felt incredibly high quality, and even the ordering process could not have been easier. One thing I really appreciate is how Quince does business. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middleman entirely, so you are paying for the quality of the product instead of huge retail markups, which is honestly my favorite. They have everything from elevated clothing your whole family will love wearing, to cookware that makes everyday meals feel a little more special, and bedding that genuinely changes how you sleep. What surprised me most was just how premium everything feels. Their products are typically priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. And with over 3,000 5-star Trustpilot reviews, it's easy to see why so many people keep coming back. Just keep in mind that Quince favorites do sell out, so if you've been thinking about refreshing your wardrobe, upgrading your home, or elevating your kitchen, now is a great time to check them out. Upgrade your everyday. Head to quince.com/snook for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/snook for free shipping and 365-day returns. Thank you so much, Quince, for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back into it. I, 21 female, found a spy camera in my room after my stepdad, 36 male, put a surveillance camera in my window. My stepdad, 36 male, installed a surveillance camera positioned outside of my window to scan our backyard while him and my mother and 2 younger brothers go camping. I couldn't go on the trip since I had work, so I was staying home to house sit and feed our animals. My stepdad recently put up new cameras outside, so I didn't see anything wrong with him positioning one outside my window. Come to find out the very next day, I had my boyfriend stay over, and he found that the surveillance camera that was ran from outside my window and into my room was being powered by one of those spy camera power blocks. For context, my relationship with my stepdad hasn't always been the best, and we tend to butt heads a lot. He said a lot of questionable things in the past that I have written off because he's my dad, and I would never think he intended to be inappropriate or harmful. He's been in my life since I was 8 years old. Of course, I'm second guessing everything now that I found this camera. It was positioned to point directly at my bedroom door from the far wall, so it has a direct view of my entire room, which I change in. I tried desperately to rationalize it and think it was maybe a mistake, like he grabbed the wrong charger box, or maybe he was just trying to look for intruders. But really, there is no excuse for putting a camera in my bedroom. The camera even has an SD card in it. I am beyond devastated. My stepdad even suggested I invite my boyfriend over while they're gone so I have someone here, which is something he would never do, considering he's made it clear before he doesn't want him over when no one is home because he doesn't want us, quote, having intimacy in his home. My boyfriend and I are going to go through the SD card to see if there's anything on it. I'm at a complete loss at how to even bring this up to my mom. This is obviously going to change everything. She had my 5-year-old half-brother with him. My mind is racing with the consequences this is going to have on our family. Has anyone that has been in a similar situation have advice? How can I do this without causing extreme damage to my family? Although that may be impossible. Thank you in advance. And then the OP makes a quick edit/update on their original post, which reads, I don't want to make a whole new thread since I want to make a new update when my parents get back Monday, but I want to thank everyone for all the advice. I went to the police station tonight and filed a police report and turned in the spy camera with the SD card. The officer said this is a serious offense and will likely get a call early next week from an investigator due to the severity of the situation. I'm planning on telling my mother about the police report after we have a conversation about this on Monday, with my aunt and uncle present. As for people messaging me about my profile, Thank you for reminding me to delete personal information. Please, please, please do not dox or try to seek any sort of justice for me, as this may affect the case. Respect my privacy during this time, please, as it may be crucial during this investigation. This was the hardest thing I ever had to do, but whatever this was, it's ending with me. I hope I can get justice for myself and any other victims who may have been violated by him, since this will be heavily investigated and the officer said it will likely be looked into further, such as search warrants and looking for more SD cards. I'm hanging on by a thread, but the support I have is what's keeping me together. I'm staying with my boyfriend tonight to keep out of the house. Thanks again for all the love and supportive messages. I'll update again soon. And then the OP does update the next morning and says, it's the next morning, and once my boyfriend wakes up, we're going back to my house today to look for any more secret cameras, either in the bathroom or my brother's rooms, so I can submit it for more evidence. I'm iffy about searching my parents' room for more evidence, as it's likely he has a hidden camera in there to see me do it. Still on the fence about having a police officer search the house. If I do, I'll be sure to update after I'm finished and in a safe place. My aunt has offered to come with me to help me search. Again, thank you everyone for the support. I'm trying my best I can do this the right way and get as much done with the time I have left. I am mentally and emotionally drained, but I'll be seeking resources once all of this is said and done. I'm reading everyone's comments, so I'm taking all the advice I can get. And then the OP makes another update number 3 on this post, which reads, I probably won't be able to update for a few more days since today is the day that I talked to my mom, but I just wanted to share the plan I made and hopes for what happens today. After talking with my aunt, uncle, boyfriend, and my cousin who is a civil lawyer, I have decided that I will speak to my mom in a separate location from my stepdad. Most likely, I'll have her meet me somewhere outside of our home. I'll have my aunt with me, and this is where I will explain everything to her. The camera, past uncomfortable experiences I've had with my stepdad that I originally brushed off because he was my dad, video footage of him deliberately setting it up and angling it, and footage of me in my room. I'm praying she understands why I had to go to my aunt instead of her considering she was not in town and I was worried for her safety if I told her what happened. She was stuck with him and my brother's about 4 hours away for the weekend. I'm hoping with my aunt there and her being away from my stepdad that it will prevent her from reacting out of anger and search for him and escalate the situation then and there. And I hope my aunt can provide some support for myself and her. I'm prepared for her to go through the same processes I went through, such as reasoning and denial. But with the evidence, there's no possible way she can deny it. I'm preparing myself for the worst. I just hope that I can be strong for her and support her as this all hits her like it did me. I will not be returning home or facing him today. My boyfriend will be on standby to pick up my brothers if needed, since my aunt has offered for them to stay with us, so my mom can talk to my stepdad without them there. I'll ask my mom to meet me and, of course, not tell my stepdad about the circumstances. Maybe she can tell him she's going to the grocery store. I don't want him getting any hints that she could be meeting with me. I know I've said it a lot, but I truly do appreciate the support system I have, not only with my family, but here too. This has been a nightmare, but hearing everyone's stories about this, proving it's way too common, is what is helping me get through this and pushing me to do the right thing. Not only am I a victim in this, but my boyfriend as well, and God knows who else. The confrontation won't happen for about another 7 hours, so in the meantime, I'll be reading over comments and preparing myself for what comes today. Thank you guys. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, sorry, but this is deliberate. It's no mistake. I would gather evidence, as already stated. My concern is how long has he been doing this and how many people are affected. Trust your gut. Someone else says, mentally prepare yourself for your mom to not support you on this. I would love to be wrong, but I've read too many stories on here where the mom turns on her daughter in similar stories. And then the OP comes back 5 days later with another update, and let's get into it. It reads, I'm not sure why, but I can't figure out why my post on r/relationship advice is unable to be edited, but I'm sure a lot of you will find it here, so here is somewhat of an update. Hi guys, I know a lot of people have been waiting for an update on what happened and about my safety. For the reasons that my post is becoming somewhat viral and showing up on other platforms, I don't think I can share many other details until this ball starts rolling with the police report. Just know that I am safe and I've been very busy the past few days with apartment hunting, working, and attempting to heal. Most of you may have guessed it, but my stepdad got to my mom before I was able to. You can kind of assume how that's been going. I promise that once the investigation actually starts and my mom finds out about it, I'll be here sharing more of what happened. I don't want to remove my post in case someone else may be going through the same thing and needs the support of you guys, as shown in my comments. I appreciate everyone rooting for me, and I'm sorry to say that my mother isn't on my side right now. I've more so been focusing on myself since the conversation and trying to make the most of the situation. On the bright side, I've been able to hang out with my cousin, and she helps keep my mind off things. I'm doing my best and will update when it feels like the right time. Thank you guys. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, literally just finished reading your first post about 30 minutes ago and came back to follow. What you're going through is so deeply disturbing, I couldn't shake it and want to get updates to make sure you're okay. I got a sinking feeling reading about you wanting to speak with your mother before her husband got to her. I just felt like you knew, and it's unfortunate to hear that it is the case. As you said, she's likely on a roller coaster of emotions and confusion, similar to what you experienced/are experiencing. That doesn't excuse her reaction. You deserve the support of your mom. I just hope she snaps out of whatever hold he has on her very soon and rushes to your side with an authentic apology. Your boyfriend and other family members sound like awesome, supportive people, so thank goodness for them. But the real MVP of this situation, in my honest opinion, is you. This has to be extremely stressful to say the least, and you're handling things with dignity and courage. I hope you recognize that. And the OP responds and says, thank you so much. I think I'm holding out hope she will come around too. I went through similar emotions she's probably feeling, so I'm giving her some time to process it. I'm sure it's harder for her with him being the only one around her to physically tell his side. And once everything is said and done, I will tell my whole story here, and it'll make more sense as to why she probably believes him over me. It's not right, and my aunt is upset with her too. But unfortunately, I understand why she's siding with him. He is a narcissist and master manipulator, so although it doesn't surprise me, it is very disappointing. And then we don't get an update for a long time. We don't get an update until 1 year later. And let's get into the update. The OP says, it's been a while. I never would have thought that my post from a little over a year ago would reach so many people, and I'm so thankful for all the support Reddit has given me. Firstly, I apologize for taking a while to update, and I am sorry in advance if this isn't the update you were hoping/waiting for so long. But here it is, and I will answer some questions a lot of you might have to the best of my ability. A lot of you probably want to hear that my boyfriend and I got justice for what my mother's husband did to us. I really wish I did. But given our crappy police system and outside forces, we have not. I keep contact with my brothers and mom, but contact is now severely limited because of the situation. It pains me to not be able to see my younger brothers like I used to, but honestly, it isn't my choice and I've come to accept it. My mother is still with him, and continuing to isolate herself from family. Whether that's because of her husband or her own shame, I'm not sure. Maybe both. I know a lot of you guys were rooting for me and wishing me nothing but the best, so I'll give some updates on my personal growth. My boyfriend and I moved in together. I graduated nursing school, and I started my new job last month. We have been trying to heal from what happened and have been growing our relationship. We are planning a trip together soon. I'm still surrounded by some amazing friends and family, aunts and uncle, who have been our rocks through this and helped us cope with everything. I'm at a place where I feel I can finally talk about everything again, so I will do my best to answer some questions. Thanks again to everyone who reached out to me, even the weird ones who tried creating lore for me and theorizing my life. Y'all are really strange, but again, it's Reddit, so whatever. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, "I'm sorry your mother has chosen to stay with the creep, and I'm really sorry that it has affected your contact with your brothers. Your mother is failing you with all of her behavior. It's good to hear you still have support from others, and I hope things will improve in the future." And the OP responds and says, "Thank you. Honestly, it is a lot better for my own mental health to distance myself. And I still call my young brother from time to time. I have another brother who can drive, so I get to see him more often, thankfully." Another user says, "How did your stepfather get to your mom before you did? What could he have told her that would make her believe the cameras and footage of you were just a mistake?" And the OP responds and says, "If you read my previous post, it'll answer your first question. As far as what he told her, my mom still genuinely believes he made a mistake and intended on using the camera as a smoking gun to catch me having people over, which, as discussed before, he literally told me to invite my boyfriend. My mom genuinely believes he made an oopsie and wasn't thinking when he put the very much working Wi-Fi capable spy camera in my bedroom. My mom has been brainwashed by an expert narcissist. If you live with one, you'd understand how they can quite literally mess with your head and own understanding of your reality." And someone else says, "I remember reading your posts before but never commented on them. I just want to say I'm so sorry she chose to stay with him. Nobody deserves that, and I really hope that you're able to connect with your brothers soon. Being there for them is always good, but even when they get a little older, they will know they can count on you. I really wish there was more justice for you. I hope everything works out in the future. Also, congrats on graduating. That's exciting." And the OP responds and says, "Having my own place has helped tremendously with my brother, who's old enough to drive. He knows he always has a safe place and has stayed before. Helps when things are rough for him at home. He's the oldest one home now, so I know it's a lot for him to handle." And then we get an update a few months later, which reads as follows. "My stepdad put a secret camera in my room, and I was to blame for being secretive and having my boyfriend over. When my stepdad lied and told my mom he strictly said he couldn't be over, which he literally gave me permission to have him over as they were going out of town and I would be home alone. It recorded us being intimate and was streaming directly to his phone. I regret not following through with the police report, but was made to feel guilty. My mom held my college fund over my head so I couldn't report it. To this day, everyone in my family accepts him and doesn't see an issue with it. I am no contact with him and low contact with my mom, but during the time when we found the camera, my mom ignored me for an entire week while my entire world crashed around me. No calls to make sure I was okay. I immediately packed my things and stayed with another relative, who now maintains contact with my mom and stepdad. No text to check in on how I was doing mentally. Still avoids the conversation to this day. She goes to church now and prays I will heal and come back around. I'm engaged now to a boyfriend, and she has no clue she won't be invited to my wedding. Planning on moving across the country to cut contact with her and my siblings, who are also brainwashed and support my stepdad. If I could go back in time, I would have followed through with the police reports and pressed charges. I'm not as scared or naive as I was back then, and sure as hell not as tolerant to those behaviors now. I trust a lot less and protect my peace a little more now. And this is the last post we have ever received from the OP. And I mean, just how heartbreaking. How the OP's mom didn't believe the OP, and now just her family is ruined because of this narcissist and creep who really ruined her life. I mean, this is not what I was expecting. I was really hoping to get an update that said this creep is in jail now for, recording and having a camera in her bedroom. And if you just think about his explanation for like 2 seconds, it doesn't make sense. Like, if he were trying to find out if she had a boy over anyways, like if it wasn't allowed, why would you put the camera pointed inside her bedroom where she changes and, where just her private space? Like, why wouldn't you just have it at like the front door? Or like, I mean, even though it's still like a creepy and weird and an invasion of privacy, like in the hallway outside her bedroom. Like, I mean, his explanation made no sense, and I don't understand how the OP's mom or OP's family believed it, because if you think about it for 2 seconds, it doesn't make any sense. This guy is a creep. He just wanted to record the OP in her more intimate moments, and also when the OP was, private moments. And it's just so upsetting that the OP's family is just ruined now, and the OP lost contact with her mom, and, the stepdad got away and he's not in prison, and the OP can't talk to her brothers anymore. I mean, it's just so sad. And I just, I hope that somehow the OP stepdad faces some sort of repercussions or justice and goes to jail, because that guy is just a creep flat out. There's no other way to twist this to make it seem like he's not a creep. Obviously, I think he should be in jail, and it's just, such a sad update. I mean, every single update after, I was just hoping and hoping and hoping that the next update would be he's in jail now, or, I'm back with my mom, or, just like my mom and I took action against my stepdad. But no, this turned out to be, horrible, and just super, super sad. But I hope the OP is doing the best that they can with her new fiance, and they are doing better now. If weight loss has felt like a total losing battle, this summer can actually be different. Skip the guesswork and try weight loss by Hims. You can access an affordable range of FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, including the Wegovy pill and the Wegovy pen. Plus, get the support you need to actually stick with it. With Wegovy at Hims, you can lose up to 20% of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. It helps regulate your appetite so you eat less and keep the weight off. And because Wegovy is the first ever GLP-1 for weight loss, there are no needles needed. The best part? Through Hims, everything happens completely online. You'll connect with a licensed provider who will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication gets delivered right to your door. No insurance necessary. Hims makes hitting your goals seamless. You get 24/7 messaging with your care team and in-app lifestyle support like meal plans, recipes, and fitness content. Plus, with a range of affordable options, Hims makes it simple to find a personalized plan that fits your lifestyle and your wallet, along with unlimited dosage changes as needed. Ready to reach your goals? Visit hims.com/snook to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's HIMS.com/snook. hims.com/snook. Weight loss by Hims is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit hims.com. Thanks for Hims for sponsoring today's video. And now, let's get back into it. So, I stumbled across some not safe for work pictures of my minor sister on the internet. What do I do? First and foremost, no, I did not save any of them. Second, no, I will not tell you where I found them. Third, no, I did not jerk it to them. This is a serious situation, so please take your inappropriate comments elsewhere, if that's not too much to ask. Sigh. So, the other night, I was up late finishing a paper for school. I attend a university, but commute there from home, when I decided it was time to look for some adult videos. It's on the internets now, in case you didn't know. Through sheer random chance, a random link on a site/board I frequent, I stumbled across a picture of a rather attractive looking blonde. I opened up the picture in the series, and lo and behold, it was my sister. Without giving too much away, the picture was of her, unclothed, on her bed, and obviously a picture taken by herself. Obviously, I was freaked for a number of reasons. First and foremost, being the fact that she's my little sister, for Christ's sake. Second, she's only 16, meaning the picture is illegal. I immediately deleted it, emptied my browser's cache, and ran an eraser program just in case. I then disabled the displaying of images and went back to the thread I'd found it on. Why would I do this, you might ask? Because my sister is sort of effed up and I was concerned. By effed up, I mean that she was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 10 or so, and then PTSD after she was R-worded by an extended family member when she was 13. That's a long story. Suffice to say, the case never went to court, and the a-hole cousin who did it is in jail on a plea arrangement. Later, and most recently, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is what I think she's had all along. And things got a lot better for her once she started on her new meds. She stopped getting into so much trouble at school, her grades picked up, and she wasn't fighting with her parents so much anymore either. As recently as a month ago, my dad remarked to me in private that he was so proud of how well Julie, not her real name, has been doing. Then I stumbled across this thread, and now I'm extremely worried. What the hell was she thinking? I already knew she spent a lot of time online, but I had no idea she was spending it by pandering to anonymous internet pervs on a image/message board. I did some more investigating, and a search for her alias revealed that she's been posting on 2 such boards for at least the last 6 months. There are some huge gaps in her posting frequency, but typically she's posted about once a week on average. Sometimes she posts several times a day. From the little red X's I saw during this investigation, she's been including images of herself at least 10% of the time. I don't know why she's doing this. For attention? Hell, she gets plenty of attention at home. Our mother does whatever she wants, and our father worships the ground she walks on too. Plus, whenever she gets upset, she always comes to me for advice/help. I'm sort of the stereotypical stalwart big brother, there to take care of her, etc. We've always been close, even during her craziest phases, and my most reclusive ones. Now, I don't know what to do. For the last few nights, I've debated asking some of my friends about it, but I've been afraid they might try finding said images for themselves. I have a good friends, but I know how guys are, seeing as I am one. I also know that at least a few of them have had the hots for her for a while now. Besides, admitting to them that I've seen my sister like that might creep them out. Or I could talk to my parents, but then I'm afraid they'll do what they did last time Julie freaked out. Put her in a mental hospital. I certainly don't want to be the cause of that. Another option would be to talk to her about it, but God, then I'd have to admit I'd seen one of her explicit photos. What would she think of me then? I know half of Reddit will never believe what I said above about me only looking briefly and then deleting entirely. What are the odds she would believe me? What if it pissed her off? What if she accused me of being a perv? Or what if she just became uncomfortable around me for the rest of our lives? Hell, I've sort of been uncomfortable around her since that picture heard around the world. Damn. I don't know what to do. I think it is very, very unhealthy for her to pander to these internet pervs. In one of the most recent messages she posted, she said she would start doing videos soon. The worst thing is, these guys, her supposed fans, treat her like crap. They demand more all the time, and they call her all sorts of mean names. And her replies to such vileness play into what they say. Reading through the most recent thread was heartbreaking for me. She admitted in it that she's worthless and just stupid because these guys want her to be that. They call her those things and she goes along with it, even though I know she's not. She's actually loved and pure and brilliant. Why would such a girl behave so differently online? Please, Reddit, I know some of you are dying to post a funny or sarcastic remark, but please refrain. I love my little sister. If you have any thoughts on how I can best handle this situation, please share. Otherwise, go on over to r/funny. Thanks. Yes, this is a throwaway. Friends and family know my regular Reddit account, and I wanted this to be as anonymous as possible. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user suggests reaching out to the website directly, and the OP responds and says, I should have mentioned this already, but I already did contact them. It was the first thing I did. They never replied to my emails, and the pictures are still up on both sites. I guess I could go the distance and contact the authorities, but for all I know, these sites are run in foreign countries. I'm in the USA. Besides, would it really help that much? If her pictures are yanked from one site or the other, you just know they'll end up on a third. I'm more concerned with the why of Julie wanting to post them in the first place than I am of the why of sites wanting to host them. Because that last question is easy. My sister is hot. It feels sort of creepy to say that, but it's true. Ugh. And he's right, that was really weird. Like that was really weird to say. Because that last question is, my sister is hot. It feels sort of creepy to say that, but it's true. That is weird as hell. What the hell? That was completely out of left field, I feel like. Like that was like, what the? Okay, anyways, let's move on to another comment. One commenter says, the reason she's behaving like this is probably because of her R-word incident. R-word either causes you to shut down intimately or it causes you to go into overdrive. And it sounds like your sister is doing the latter. Why? It's not an attention thing so much as it is confusion about having control over one's own body. Doing this allows her to expose herself in an unhealthy way. Yes, but all at the same time by her own volition. This is an empowering sense for a woman who has been R-worded. That doesn't mean that's okay or justified, that's just what's happening. I have actually survived R-word, and I didn't go down this path. But I did go down a pretty promiscuous one, which I have now overcome. My older brother heard the stories and talked to me about it, plain and simple, knowing that my brother cared about me and that I was worth something more than my, promiscuous deeds. Probably saved me from a lot of hurt. Point being, you talking to her about it is awkward, yes, and she may deflect. But starting out a conversation with her is important because you are in a position to save her from a lot of pain. Something like, hey, I was wondering if I could talk to you for a minute. Listen, I really love you. And so I was worried when I came across these pictures of you on the internet the other night. Your intimate life isn't my business, but all the same, I'm here to talk to you, should you ever need anyone. And the OP responds and says, that's all great advice and thanks for it. But what if she freaks out that I saw one of her not safe for work pics? I can just see her totally freaking, no matter how I told her about it. Maybe I could just lie and tell her that a random friend of mine told me about them. There's always the chance she will lie and tell me he's wrong, but that might be a good workaround. Thoughts? And just by the way, most commenters in the comments here told the OP he should absolutely not lie to his sister about who found it. Another commenter says, okay, former teenage girl here. She's probably just being a moron and experimenting with her intimate preferences in a dumbass way. I saw a lot of my friends do that sort of thing. Not videos so much, but photos or chatting with two old guys who did the whole, promiscuous thing. So first off, don't freak out too badly. Freak a little. But this doesn't mean she's going to grow up and have her life ruined. She'll probably just grow up and be a little bemused as to why she did that. Second of all, talk to her. I'm not sure what you say. I know I could tell my little sister that I saw her photo, and WTF was she thinking? The internet is forever. Find better ways to test your intimate boundaries, but I'm not an older brother, so you're gonna have to be the judge on this one. Would you talk to her about intimacy/adult videos and not in a creepy way, obviously, of more in a mentor way? If so, I think you could probably bring it up. You need to bring it up, obviously. It also wouldn't hurt to bring in a female friend, if you got one you trust and one she looks up to drive home the point that there are better ways to get male attention/play with your intimate preferences than this. If you want, I can try to recreate the speech I gave my sister about this sort of stuff, on calling yourself bad names or letting other people do it or taking explicit photos, etc. So you have talking points. You know your parents and if it would be best to involve them. I know I'd tell my mom, but she'd be as cool with it as mom could be, and my sister would never be able to get on the internet again and be forced to talk about why she was doing it with a therapist, not put away. Edit. And with the R-word thing, I bet on some level she's trying to regain control. This is her body and her choice, you know? Edit. And this has nothing to do with her being underage. Until my sister hit about 19 or so, I'd still talk to her and maybe even rat her out on my mom. And the OP responds and says, that's all good advice. Damn, Reddit is awesome. A couple of thoughts. Maybe I didn't make this clear in my original post, but let me be plain. If I tell our parents about this, my sister will be sent back to the hospital. That might be for the best in truth, but I don't want to be the cause of it. Julie has never told me exactly why, but she said that her last time there, she's been there twice, was the worst experience of her life. One of the most heart-wrenching moments of my life was seeing her after a 3-week stay about a year ago. She cried in my arms about it. I won't and can't do anything to cause such an experience again for her. Period. So I have to keep our parents in the dark. I'm starting to realize, though, that I do need to talk to her. Hell, maybe I should just tell her to post her concerns/worries/etc. to Reddit. Another commenter says, I know this won't be a popular response, but don't worry about it so much. I did this when I was that age too. It made me feel pretty and wanted at a time when I was feeling very awkward. I was also the victim of SA at a very young age and had severe body issues for a long time. Being unclothed on the internet made me feel good. I was careful and made sure that my face and identifying things were never in the same picture as my unclothed body. But that's not a conversation you want to have with your sister, LOL. Needless to say, it didn't ruin my life or career, and I'm not sorry I did it. And then the OP responds and says, thanks for sharing, but that does not apply here. My sister is doing nothing to hide her identity, other than having a fake alias she uses to post. Again, what worries me the most is how horrible her fans treat her, and how she seems to embrace it. Let me put it to you this way. If I'd come across a picture of her without any context, just a random picture of my sister, I'd have felt embarrassed, would have erased the file, have forgotten about it. This isn't the case here, though. She is actively communicating with freaky douchebags on at least 2 image boards and doing what they ask her to do. And it's all horrible. And another commenter says, why would a girl behave so differently online? You seriously think your sister is the only girl who posts explicit photos of herself who isn't actually a giant promiscuous woman. I find it funny that you were looking for adult videos and that was perfectly okay until you saw your sister. All those other random girls are perfectly okay to be unclothed because they're anonymous, but this one is your sister, so she's special. I also like how you, again, were looking for adult videos and that's perfectly okay. But all these guys who look at your sister are internet pervs. And then the OP responds and says, that is such a BS argument. I never said that it was perfectly okay for me to look for adult videos, first of all, and I never distinguished myself as being any better than the others who do the same. I am an internet perv. I don't see anything wrong with that. But the guys I'm talking about are doing a hell of a lot more than simply looking for pictures and movies of attractive women to jerk it to. The guys I'm talking about have actively encouraged her to do all sorts of degrading things. And how do they reward her? By calling her all sorts of filthy names and demanding more. I have never done that, and never would. How a guy could get off on insulting and belittling a young woman, much less a 16-year-old, which I admit my sister does not look, so I don't blame these men for not knowing, is beyond me. It's disgusting, it's wrong, and guess what, gentlemen? There is a line between casual perving and actively being disgusting. And then the OP comes back 8 days later with an update, and let's get into it. It's titled, So My Kid's Sister Was Put in a Mental Hospital by Her Parents, and It's My Fault. Advice? Thoughts? And the post reads as follows. I feel really bad about this, and I figured I'd tell Reddit my tale in the hopes of receiving more advice and or being cheered up. I ended up confronting my sister 2 days after making the original post about her here on Reddit. I used a lot of the good advice I received from that post and brought up finding the pictures in an open/caring way, warning her that she could get in huge trouble for illegal content involving minors, telling her that I was there for her and I loved her and she could always talk to me about anything. She responded coldly but didn't freak out. She just wanted to know if I was going to tell our parents. I said I wouldn't if she promised to stop posting. She agreed. It was a very tense conversation, but I tried my best to come across as understanding and caring. I never raised my voice. I never called her stupid or anything like that for what she was doing, etc. The next day, she confronted me, and boy, was she pissed. She told me I was a jerk and a perv, that I wasn't her father and could not control her, that no one could tell her what to do, etc. It was a typical manic/teenage blow up. I've never seen her so angry at me before. She wouldn't let me get a word in edgewise, and she went on to say crazy stuff about how if I told on her, she'd get one of her online boyfriends to beat me up. I decided right away what I needed to do, and I almost posted about here on Reddit, but my guilty conscience kept me from doing so. That night, while she was out with her friends, I went on her computer and was able to find all her Google Talk chat records. She wasn't logged into her Gmail account, but she had her browser, i.e., set to log her in automatically. I felt really guilty doing this, but after her tirade, I became convinced she must be off her meds. Her confrontation with me was a classic mania episode, and I wanted to know what she was up to. I told myself I'd look once, and if I found nothing more worrisome than what I was already aware of, I would stop spying on her and consider talking to her again when she calmed down. Unfortunately, what I found was very worrisome. The situation was much, much worse than I had ever imagined. I found a chat she had with someone who she obviously met through one of these forums she was posting on. A search for his email address in her Gmail account showed hundreds of chats and emails with this man dating back to early spring. I read a few of their recent chats and discovered that she was planning on meeting him at the end of the month. Apparently, a concert I'd known she was supposed to be going to with a real-life friend was just a cover-up for hooking up with this guy at a nearby motel. He even sent her a ticket, so he had her real mailing address to complete the facade. That concert ticket has been hanging on our fridge for about a week. Based on their most recent chats, it was clear she's been talking to this douchebag on the phone, or maybe over Skype. There were gaps in their chats which made them confusing. What I was able to deduce, though, was that this guy is married with 3 kids, 1 in college, so he's definitely way too old for my sister. He knows her age, too, because she chatted a lot about high school with him. It also became clear to me that my sister has been very promiscuous with boys at school. She chatted with this asshole about all these guys she's been with. Oh, and guess how most of these chats with my sister started? Him messaging her and saying, "Hey, little, explicit word, how goes it? Nice guy, huh?" Even more disturbing than all of that was the fact that she kept referring to her online boyfriends in chats with this guy. She chatted extensively about one guy she allegedly met, and who this a-hole apparently knew from the board, who apparently hit her while they had intimacy, chipping her tooth. I remember her chipped tooth. She had to get it fixed back in July, and she told us all it was from taking a fall off of her bike. Unfortunately, I think she chats mostly by using AIM, because in some of her chats with the a-hole, she said things like, "LOL, chatting with so-and-so from the board right now. He's thinking of flying out to meet me." Stuff like that. I couldn't get into her other accounts. I'm glad I couldn't access her other accounts, because what I read in her exchanges with a-hole were more than enough to worry me sick and make me literally want to cry. She talked a lot about her promiscuity at school, and even with guys she's already hooked up with from online. He, in turn, encouraged her to do it even more. Now I have no idea how true any of her crazy stories to him were. Some of them seem really over the top, and I hope to God they were just manic lies. But while at first I thought they were all BS, as I read more and more I became convinced that at least some were true. I stopped my snooping without hardly putting a dent in reading all that stuff. I just couldn't stomach it. But I did print out these series of chats and emails with her plotting to meet a-hole at the motel. Thankfully, they talked about it extensively online, so there was all the proof. The address of the actual motel, long and graphic discussions about what they'd do to one another that night when they met, her thoughts about how easy it was to fool our parents, his thoughts about how easy it was to fool his wife that he'd be going out of town on business on a Friday, etc. There was no need to ask Reddit what I needed to do now. The next day, I told my dad that I needed to have dinner with him in private, and I brought along my ill-gotten gains. The damning printed out chats and emails I'd violated my sister's trust to obtain to the restaurant. He thought I needed to talk about how stressful this semester at college has been, and instead I told him the whole story, from finding the pictures of her online to snooping on her computer and discovering all of the other stuff. My dad was really cool about it. He was obviously heartbroken and upset, but somehow he made it strangely easy to admit to him that I'd seen my sister unclothed and had been spying on her since. After laying the whole thing out to him, he took a long break away from the table, presumably to use the bathroom, but I'm 95% sure he went outside for some air. And when he returned, he told me through blurry eyes that he agreed with my assessment, that she was off her meds and clearly needed professional help. To keep her close to home, he grounded her the next day for skipping a class the previous week. He didn't want to tell her the real reason he was grounding her. Meanwhile, he brought my mom in on the other thing. I can only imagine what that conversation was like. He then contacted his lawyer. He wanted to bust the a-hole who was going to meet up with her. Unfortunately, the lawyer said she's technically old enough to consent to having intimacy in this state, and that there was no way to reveal A-hole has illegal pictures of her without also revealing to the cops that my sister had been committing a crime, posting illegal content of herself online. His advice was to take away her computer and get her help. That's what happened yesterday. When my sister got home from school, me, our parents, my dad's lawyer, and a counselor from the hospital, they were putting her and greeted her in the living room. We did an intervention, and I had to tell her why I was concerned about her in front of everyone, and basically confess that I was the reason she was being put in a hospital again. All she did was cry and shake and beg not to be put away, which made me cry while I spoke in after too. She didn't seem mad at me, but she became an emotional train wreck only minutes after entering the house and realizing what was going on. I'm so worried she's going to hate me when she calms down enough to fully comprehend what I did. She's been in the hospital for a solid day now, and me and my parents are supposed to go visit her tomorrow. I'll let you all know how that goes in exchange for one of two things: advice or attempts to make me feel better for what I did. Jesus Christ. You'll remember from my last post that she's been locked up before. She told me a long while back that it was the worst experience of her life, and she cried the entire time she shared that experience with me. I begged my dad at that dinner meeting not to send her back to that same place, which sounded awful, and thankfully he took my advice and found her a nicer place. I haven't seen it yet, but my dad spent the time between the dinner I had with him and the actual lockup researching such institutions. This one is a 2-hour drive away, but is supposed to specialize in adolescents. Even so, I feel like shit for being the reason she's getting locked up again. But I have no idea what I could have done differently. She did such a good job of hiding the fact that she was going through her manic craziness again, that I would never have suspected she was off her meds. Oh, by the way, she definitely was. She talked about flushing her pills every morning in some of those chats with A-hole. He, of course, encouraged that. If I hadn't stumbled across that picture of her on that forum and confronted her about it, still, this is my sister I'm talking about. I love her and I do not want her to hate me. I feel like I stabbed her in the back by doing what I did. I keep thinking I could have done something different. Maybe I could have gotten through to her one-on-one. Maybe I didn't need to get our dad involved. Jesus, Reddit, please make me feel better. Advice for the future and accolades for doing the best thing are much appreciated. If you think I did wrong though, I am man enough to take that too. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, I am an only child, so I will try to relate the best I can. I had a gay best friend in grade school and high school who was kind of messed up too. We were both only children and we were very close, though nothing like you and your sister seemed to be. He always joked about one day proving to everyone in school that he wasn't a loser, and as high school went on, he grew more and more violent about it. One day, he didn't go to school, and when I got off the bus, he was waiting for me. His eyes were puffy, and he looked horrible. We walked home, and he told me about how he can't take it anymore. He showed me he had his father's gun with him, and told me he was going to bring it to school the next day, and that I should stay home. Of course, I called the police. He had joked about this kind of stuff before, but his father always keeps the gun locked up. I don't know how he got it. The police went to his house and took him to the hospital. He was there for 3 months, and I didn't talk to him for a few weeks after he got back. He told me he was really pissed off at first, and he had all these plans to, do crazy things. But now he's a pretty functional person. He takes a bunch of medications and goes to therapy a few times a week. But he's normal and has a job and does normal things. I mean, as normal of things as a transgender guy could do. He talks about the hospital as being the best experience of his life, and he's thanked me for seeing his cry for help. You did the right thing. You have her best interest in mind. Even if she's angry and unhappy right now, you've made it very clear that you care for her and you only want to help her, not hurt her. She will appreciate it someday, when she's better. You did your best, and now only she can help herself. And the OP responds and says, wow, it's so interesting. Reading that, I thought to myself, thank God he called the cops and put his friend's well-being over his loyalty to that friend. When the shoe is on my foot, I can't help but feel guilty that I betrayed my sister. But reading about someone else's similar situation makes me realize that at the end of the day, doing the right thing, the best thing, just isn't always supposed to feel good. Thanks for the story. That really, really helped. I hope this comment gets more upvotes. Another commenter says, there is no way that you can just say it was your fault. You're a good brother to her, and always will be, and you did the right thing. I hope this ends well. And it was one of the best possible outcomes that could have happened towards a good ending. Edit. I just read it through again in more detail, and you're the best brother she could ever hope for, honestly. And the OP responded and said, do you have siblings? There's this sort of trust between siblings I've always felt. I'll watch your back if you watch mine. And that's why I feel so bad. I didn't watch her back. I freaked out, and basically, because of me, she's been committed to a hospital. I have no idea how I could have handled it better, but I still feel awful. I'm the big brother. I'm supposed to be smart enough to figure out how to help her without getting her locked up. I guess I'm just not as smart as I thought I was. Another commenter says, as bad as you feel, I think you did the right thing. I think this is a situation where a professional could be helpful. Just remember that you did it for her own good. And the OP responds and says, I hope so. I am a hardcore atheist, but I find myself praying to God that you're right. Edit, funny how God shows up in my posts. This is a throwaway account, but in my real one, he does the same thing whenever I'm desperate. 15 years of Sunday school leaves its mark. Another commenter says, it's really hard to say what the right thing to do is in a situation like this. But she definitely needed an intervention of some sort and was clearly not in any position to help herself. So you weren't left with many choices. Hopefully with time, she will understand the situation from a healthier / positive perspective. I give you an internet hug. And then the OP responds and says, I want to agree with you, but I keep thinking, aren't there always other options, other choices? I've believed that my entire life. This was the first time I ever did anything I was horribly against because I was too dumb to find that last other option or choice. Another commenter says, you did well. The mental scene I can't help but picture is your dad kind of thinking, that's my boy, browsing adult videos in the back of his head at some point. And the OP responds and says, honestly, he was so cool during that conversation that admitting that part wasn't really all that awkward. In retrospect, yeah, that should have been hugely embarrassing though. And finally, another commenter says, I'm sure it took some effort on this part to conceal his emotion given the enormity of the situation. That's the great thing about being a dad. You always have to be the rock and never show emotion. Also, excellent decision on talking to your dad one-on-one. Your mother, if she's like 99% of other mothers in the world, would have freaked out right then and there in the restaurant. It really sounds like you did everything right, bro. Good job. And then the OP responds and says, without getting too specific, let me just say, there was absolutely no way I would have been able to tell my mom about this. I can't speak for other mothers, but I can say that mine would likely have fainted. My dad knows how to deal with her delicate sensibility a lot better than I do, so I let him. Quick aside, when I was 15, I asked her, on behalf of my girlfriend, how one goes about getting on the pill. Her reaction? She fainted, literally. And then we get an update 1.5 months later titled, Update, my sister is now out of the hospital, and the best Christmas gift of all, she doesn't hate me. Reddit was right, once again. And now let's get into the update. It reads, okay, so my little sister, Julie, was in the hospital for almost 2 months. During that time, she refused to see me, my mom, my dad, even 2 uncles and 1 aunt. She saw them at visits, but she refused to see me. I was convinced the entire time that the reason she didn't want to see me was that she hated me. I must have reread my second post about this 100 times just to reinforce my belief that I had done the right thing by telling our dad about the situation. Believe me, the comments in that second post really did sustain me. I've never loved Reddit so much as I have during some of the worst sleepless nights I've gone through. Nights where I felt like the shittiest brother ever. Reading your assurances that I had done the right thing really helped me get along through this very difficult time. We were told 2 weeks ago that she was scheduled to be released on the 21st of December. This had nothing to do with money or insurance. My parents were paying out of pocket for her stay, but the cost was never an issue. Apparently, she had adjusted well to her new medications and is in a much better, more sober state of mind now. I was thrilled to learn she'd be home for Christmas. I dreaded seeing her only because I have not seen her since the intervention that led to her being hospitalized in the first place. I was so worried she hated me that I even told my mom upon hearing the news of her release that I would gladly crash at my friend's house for a while. My mom's response? Are you crazy? She wants you to be the one to pick her up. Sorry, I still get teary-eyed when I remember that. So it turns out that the reason my sister didn't want to see me that entire time, 2 months, was that she was embarrassed. She didn't mind seeing our parents or our uncles and aunt, but she just couldn't handle seeing me. She felt like she'd let me down or something. I drove nearly 2.5 hours out to the hospital last Monday, only the second time I'd ever been there, alone, and greeted her in the reception area. She literally ran over and jumped into my arms when she saw me. I cried like a baby. Reddit, and I'm not embarrassed to admit as much. We talked a ton during the drive home. She has a much firmer grasp on her condition now than she did before. Best of all, and Reddit was right about this, she does not hate me for turning her in. She's healthy, she's safe, she's on medications to deal with her bipolar disorder, and she actually thanked me for intervening before she did something stupid, like meeting up with that one guy, aka a-hole. I worried so much for so long for nothing. My little sister still loves me, and I did do the right thing. Thank you, Reddit, for all of your thoughts and comments during this time. I've been feeling miserable for so long because of all this, but your thoughtful comments and suggestions helped me from going into despair. This is why I love this site. Thank you again. Edit. A few things. First, to all of you well-wishers, thank you so much for the kind words and good wishes. They mean so much to me. You have no idea. Second, to the anti-meds crowd, get a job. Sure, meds are sometimes overprescribed. I won't argue that. But my sister didn't have an episode or a temper tantrum that was misdiagnosed as bipolar type 1 disorder. While I'm sure that happens sometimes, you're in absolutely no position to gauge what my sister was going through. You don't know her, but I do. And trust me, the girl who's posting those long, crazy messages on those image boards, the girl who confronted me and threatened me with all kinds of crazy nonsense the day after I talked to her, the girl, in short, who was off her medications, that was not my sister. That was my sister in a manic episode. If you have to ask what the difference is between a manic episode and a typical teenager angst/temper, you've never seen one. I hope you never have to, because they are scary. Scary, scary. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tirade about that. It's just frustrating to read some of the holier than thou. You do realize bipolar is the ADD of the 2000s, right? Type of messages this post has garnered. So annoying. Go give L. Ron Hubbard some money, but STFU on this post, please. Again, I'm sorry. The vast majority of the responses here have been so supportive and uplifting, but the few trolls who managed to get a bunch of upvotes for being contrarians did sort of piss me off. Done being angry, Reddit. Oh, and as for long-term care, she's going to be an IOP, intensive outpatient, for the foreseeable future. That means starting in January, daily visits to a local clinic where she'll receive both group and individual therapy. She's also going to see the psychiatrist she took a huge liking to at the hospital once a month until she finds a new doctor to replace her. She's fine with all this and is actually excited about it. She has this journal she keeps showing me that she writes in when she starts to feel unbalanced. She says it's like her own private group therapy, but she can't wait to be in the real thing again. Our dad took away her computer, but he set it up in the living room, right next to the television set, and she's free to use it whenever she wants. She has absolutely no privacy on it, but she seems to be okay with that. I think the biggest test will be when she goes back to school. She lost an entire semester because of her hospitalization, and she'll be needing to go to summer school to make up for it. And while she says she's fine with that, I know it sort of bums her out. Plus, school is usually a trigger, so I've noticed, for her bad, depressive, and manic periods. But I really believe she's ready this time. I've never seen her so strong and resolved to handle her condition as she appears right now. Well, that's it. This is most likely the last ever thing I type using this account. As I mentioned in my original post, I have a real Reddit account that I often use, and I simply created this one for this particular issue. I am very glad that I did too. Reddit came through for me in a big way. I hope that others out there who are in any kind of strange/heartbreaking/etc. type of situation look to this experience and find inspiration to share their own story, whatever it is. The trolls and the a-holes try to grind us down, but Reddit is good at fighting back. I love this place. I love you all. Yes, even the trolls and the a-holes. Adieu from Blind with Worry. Edit, the last. Okay, forgot to mention, as to the a-hole, believe me, like most of you, I want to go after this guy. I really do. I actually had a huge argument with my father about this a month ago. When I calmed down though, I realized that the legal advice he was getting was correct. Fanning flames risks spreading fire. What my sister needs now, what our family needs now, is time to heal. Would it feel good to crush that guy? Sure. Would it draw everything out though? Definitely. That would not be a good thing. Sometimes what feels good is actually bad, or at the very least can make a situation worse than it already is. Let me put it like this. Say I posted his Gmail username here, and Reddit went to town crushing him in all sorts of ways. So he decides, heck, that girl ratted on me. I'll show her, and he ends up reposting the obviously self-pictured images to every site and image board, maybe even here on Reddit. Not only would that humiliate her, but it might have legal ramifications for her. What's done is done. Trust me. I know it's a bitter pill to swallow. I would like nothing better than to meet this guy someday and do things to him that would get me 20 to life in a state prison. But when you think on it logically, what good does that do for my sister? For myself? For my family? As tempting as it is to send his wife an anonymous letter, there's just one problem. I don't have his address. In short, I'm just going to have to leave my revenge fantasies to my imagination and Tarantino movies. This a-hole / douchebag will likely commit S-word one of these days anyway. In the meantime, no fanning the flames. Doing so spreads the fire. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, "Thanks for giving us an update. There's nothing better than hearing about a successful outcome. Glad to hear your sister is okay. Bipolar is a scary thing. Best of luck to her." Another user says, "You now know well that doing the right thing doesn't always feel good when you're doing it. But it's not about what feels good. It's about the making the best decision. You made the decision that was best for your kid's sister, and I'll bet that no matter how much you write about it, will not come close to understanding how hard that was for you. I am proud to know that you took the hard path, knowing it was the right thing to do, but that you might suffer for that. That takes a lot of guts to do. I'll think on your situation when I am pressed to make a hard decision like that. You know, you acted selflessly, and no matter how it turned out, it was for the best. I am really happy that she is better and she loves you. You showed courage and loyalty on an uncommon level. She had a front row seat for that and knows it well. There's no mystery to me as to why she loves you. My best wishes and Happy New Year to you both." And another user says, "I was put in the hospital when I was 16. Long story. In the first week, I refused to do anything. My parents visited me and nothing, until my brothers visited me. There was about 5 minutes of silence, and then one of them said, 'I don't know if I should slap you or hug you.' And I broke down crying for the first time in there, and it was one of the biggest turning points in my recovery. Anyway, every little sister is lucky to have a big brother who cares. I am. Your sister is." And this was the last post we have ever received from the OP. And man, what a roller coaster of events. But I think this just turned out as happy of an ending as is possible. You know what I mean? Like, this was not a good situation for really anybody. The OP was put in a really weird spot. The family was put in a really weird spot, an awkward spot, and yes, just almost scary spot. And the OP's sister was, really struggling with some stuff, it seems. But luckily, it seems like she got the help she needed, and hopefully the OP's family, the OP, and the OP's sister are doing better now. Am I the asshole for making my wife think our son was missing? My wife has a horrible habit that I discovered 2 months ago. We were ordering lunch on the Subway app, and I told her to pick the location that has a drive-thru. That way, we don't have to go inside and take the baby out of the car just to clip him back in a few minutes later. She told me it's not a big deal to leave the baby in the car to run in and pick it up really fast. I had no idea she ever did this. I told her I was not comfortable with her leaving him in the car alone even for a minute, and she told me she's been doing it since he was born, and it's always been fine. She told me she does it to pick up food, run into the post office or pharmacy, etc. I was floored. We don't live in a horrible area, but it's also not super safe either. I told her to not ever do this again. She told me she never stopped to think about the potential dangers and that she would stop doing it. Well, yesterday, as I was driving home from my brother's house, I spotted her car at the gas station near our place. It was parked in a spot up front and not a pump. So I figured she stopped in to grab some snacks, which we like to do. I decided to stop and go in and say hi and get some food, and I pulled in and parked next to her. However, when I got there, I was furious to find our son in his car seat. The car was not even locked. I don't know what came over me, but in that moment, I decided to take my son and put him into my car. He's got a car seat in there too. I then drove to the other side of the gas station parking lot and waited for my wife to come out. It took 6 minutes for her to appear. When she saw that he was gone, she looked stunned for a second and then started to frantically look around and cry. I didn't let it go on long. After this, I saw her pull out her phone, presumably to call 911, and that's when I pulled my car around to her. I parked, got out, and walked around to my son's door and opened it to show him to her. She looked extremely relieved, but that quickly turned to anger with her asking me why I took him and did that to her. I told her she needed to learn a lesson, and she promised to stop leaving him in the car, and that she was extremely irresponsible. It was so easy for me to pull up and take him. No one else at the gas station even noticed. So if he really was taken there would have been no help, and it would have been 100% her fault. She proceeded to call me cruel and psychotic and tried taking our son out of my car into hers. I said no, and that I would be driving him home, and I left. She came home not much later but ignored me the rest of the day. She acknowledged me today, saying she wanted an apology, and I said absolutely not, and she's the one who should be saying sorry. She's been guilt-tripping me the rest of the day, saying no mother should experience the fear I put her through. Did I go too far? Am I the asshole? And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, normally I'm fully against game playing, but this is your child's life. I support your actions. Your wife is being hugely neglectful. Not to mention, it'll be warm soon, and being left in a hot car, even for a few minutes, can be deadly. Not the asshole, and I wouldn't let her take him anywhere until she apologizes. And then the OP responds and says, I guess I should clarify that the car was running with the air on. I forgot to add the detail and was restricted by the character limit, but the car was on. It's a push to start car with a sensor for the key fob, so it'll stay on/running as long as you are close enough to the vehicle. I didn't see the keys in the car, so she took them inside with her, but didn't lock it. And then another user says, look, OP, let's be honest about the reality of this situation. Your wife has knowingly and intentionally left your infant alone in a vehicle multiple times. At least once, that vehicle was unlocked. I'm honestly shocked no one has called the cops for child endangerment yet, but eventually, someone probably will. When that happens, CPS will probably get involved. You have now documented on the internet that you knew that this was happening. If CPS finds out that you knew and continued letting your wife leave the baby alone in the car, you will both lose custody of that baby. Not the asshole for scaring her. That was an appropriate and infant-safe way to demonstrate the potential consequences of your wife's actions to her in a hopefully meaningful way. But you will be the asshole if you continue to let this happen. If your wife's attitude about the safety of your child doesn't improve, it doesn't really seem like your wife can be trusted to transport the baby right now. It might be time to involve some professional help for her if you want to keep your family intact. Or it might be time to document what she's doing. Take your child and leave her if you're done with risking it. And then the OP responds and says, I've seen several comments like this, so I just want to make it clear that I have absolutely no intention of letting this continue. My son's safety is my top priority and means everything to me. And someone responds and says, I'm glad to hear this because there is also a side you're not seeing. My former coworker was notorious for doing this. I don't want to bring my baby in, so I'll just run in quick, etc. Everyone told her it wasn't safe, but she didn't listen. Until one time she was in a store, someone saw the baby in the car and called the police. The baby was taken from them, and CPS was called, and an investigation was opened. Once they determined that she'd done this repeatedly, they determined the child was not fit to return. Her husband had to file for divorce and petition the court to get custody of his baby back. It was a huge mess that took a long time to settle. And then the OP posts an update the next day, which reads as follows. It says, "Update on the situation. I sat my wife down this morning and did apologize for the way I went about things, but said I was not sorry for caring about my son's safety, and in the moment felt like she needed a huge wake-up call. She apologized for lying and continuing to do this unsafe practice. I asked her why she seems so casual about what she is doing. Most parents I know, myself included, are on the paranoid side when it comes to their kids, and she has been doing this for so long without seeing an issue. I asked if she thinks she's dealing with some kind of postpartum mental health issue, as I don't consider this normal. She broke down crying, saying she doesn't know what's wrong with her. She has agreed to seek counseling, and until there is a major change and improvement, I will be running all errands with my son, or we will be doing them together. But I told her I cannot trust her anymore to take him places by herself." And this is the last update we have ever received from the OP. My partner, 30 male, says I'm the problem, 31 female, but his behavior is starting to feel like abuse. Am I insane for thinking this? Hi there, throwaway for obvious reasons. My partner and I have been together for about a year and a half. I moved in with him a few months ago because of finances and living situations, and honestly, I am starting to regret it. He has admitted he has anger issues and goes to therapy for it. He always says he's the only one putting effort into the relationship, but I am starting to feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells. Now that I'm in a better place financially, I've been looking into therapy myself, not for anger, but for trauma I went through earlier this year. Here's the thing, he slams doors even though I've told him it scares me, raises his voice, calls me names, and has broken up with me mid-argument just to prove a point. He's even woken me up by slamming doors when he's mad, and once drove recklessly with me in the car and experiences road rage. When I bring these things up, he'll say stuff like, "That never happened," or "When was the last time I did that?" as if I'm making it up. After social events, he picks apart how I acted and how I spoke. I already have social anxiety, and now I dread going out with him because I know he'll find something to be mad about afterward. Whenever I try to set a boundary or tell him I'm uncomfortable, he keeps pushing. I get frustrated, and then suddenly I'm the problem because I have an attitude. If I try to take space like sleeping in the spare room after an argument, he'll throw my clothes and belongings in there and tell me to just stay there permanently. Then he'll switch gears and act all sad and depressed until I comfort him like I'm the one who did something wrong. It's emotionally exhausting. He also gets jealous when I'm friendly with my male roommates or other people, even though I'm literally nice to everyone. One night, he accused me of deleted messages and cheating because he saw my phone reflection and thought I was hiding something. I was actually just messaging a friend that I felt unsafe and anxious while having a fight. He later tried sneaking into the spare room to go through my phone, then acted like he missed me just to get me back into bed. He tells me what I should or shouldn't do because he cares, but it feels more like he doesn't think I can handle life on my own, even though I'm very independent and have way more life experience than him. Another thing that really upsets me is he says mean, judgmental things about people in public. He calls it having a mean girl persona. He's even made racist and fat-phobic comments. And when I call it out, he says I'm worse than him, which is not true. Lately, he keeps saying I'm the problem and that I need to look deep within myself. He blames his outbursts on stress or mental health, takes minimal accountability. and things will change for a little bit until they go back to how they were. I leave arguments feeling confused, guilty, and like I have to apologize for things I didn't even do wrong. I know I'm not perfect, but this can't be normal, right? I don't ever act or treat him this way. The only reason I've stayed this long is because he can be sweet, he cooks, he cleans, he's affectionate, and when he's in a good mood, things feel easy, but he's mostly in a bad mood and complains about everything that happens, even if it's a minor inconvenience and it'll bring his mood down. But I'm pretty sure I'm falling out of love with him. Now that I'm more financially stable, I've told him I think we should live separately when the lease is up because our constant fights are very stressful, but I know how that'll go. He'll guilt me, spam me with messages, and make it seem like I'm abandoning him. We were supposed to get our own place together, but at this point, I just don't know anymore. Does this sound like emotional abuse, or am I the problem? I would love some honest outside perspectives, please. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One person says, "Girl, just leave." And then someone responds and says, "When you do leave, OP, do not let him know that you're breaking up with him in person, because that is most dangerous time in our abusive relationship, because they are losing control over you and they will do anything to have that control. That is when you are statistically the most likely to be killed by your partner. The reason why I'm warning you about this is because it almost happened to me. He almost killed me." And the OP responds and says, "Thank you so much for this advice. He's not laid a hand on me yet, but there's been small signs that he could. He also admitted to me recently that in a past relationship, he choked his ex from self-defense. My stomach and heart dropped. He will either get angry or guilt trip me into staying." And another commenter says, "You are in an abusive relationship. You know how some people ask, why did she stay? This is why. It can be very confusing. Abusers are manipulative. They use all kinds of manipulative techniques like gaslighting and minimizing. And they're very good at twisting things so you end up apologizing when they're the one who is wrong, which just makes everything so much more confusing. They will make you doubt yourself and reality. What you are feeling is correct. This is not okay. This is abusive, and it will only get worse. I'm sure you know that though. I'm sure you've seen it getting worse. Abusive relationships very rarely start out that way. The Netflix show Made, I recommend it, although it's not super great. It has a lot of good information, especially about how women often are in denial and how abuse is not one size fits all. Had one of the best descriptions of it. Quote, "It's like a garden. Violence. It grows like mold. Before they bite, they bark. Before they hit you, they hit near you. Like they're trying to figure out how close they can get before you actually leave." And unfortunately, most abusers will keep up their abuse if they feel their power slipping. They will cycle through love and abuse like some sort of horrible yo-yo, keeping you on the ride, just praying it doesn't fall again, and he'll be the man you fell for, the man he often pretends to be just to keep you staying. But you have to know that man doesn't exist. That's a mask he wears. It's one more tool in his arsenal. What would you tell your friend, your mother, your daughter, if she was in a relationship like this? I think you know it's time to leave. Set up whatever you have to set up, ideally secretly, and then leave. Do what you have to do to stay safe. And then the OP responds and says, "Thank you for being understanding of how hard it can be. I never in a million years thought I would get into a situation like this, especially leaving red flags like this sooner, and didn't take any BS, but this man caught me at a time where I had very low self-esteem, financially struggling, and depression." And another commenter says, "Does this sound like emotional abuse? Yes. How do you feel physically when he rages and drives aggressively and slams doors, etc.? Does your blood pressure go up? Does your chest feel tight? It is emotional abuse. but it's also physical abuse. It's damaging. And then the OP responds and says, I get anxious when I know the tension is building up even before anything happens. And then we get an update from the OP 3 weeks later, and let's get into it. It reads as follows. Firstly, I just want to thank everyone for their support and encouragement in my previous post. It means a lot, and anytime I started to doubt myself, I would read your comments. It really did help me a lot. I left today. I left a letter and got the hell out of there as I knew this was the safest and best option. I found a room to rent in a beautiful area and house, all-female household, and funnily enough, my landlord is a social worker in DV, so she was so accommodating and supportive throughout the whole process. I told people I trust at my work, my plans, and they were also very supportive. I never thought I would be someone who would enter into a relationship this bad. I've always been good at walking away from the early signs in the past, but this person caught me at a time where I was lonely, struggling with mental health and finances. But there were early red flags I ignored, and I felt sorry for this person, as he was good at guilt tripping. These were the signs. Love bombed. Pressured me to be his girlfriend when I wasn't sure yet. Say he would do anything to support me and here was there for me. Oftentimes the things he did for me were thrown in my face later when angry, and that I never did anything for him. Tried pressuring me to open a shared bank account and sharing health insurance, which when I would say no and didn't feel I was ready, I was avoidant and unaccepting of help or growing together as a couple. Gaslighting. Would say things that didn't happen or I didn't say something when they did, especially when I was showing him affection and apparently I didn't, which was strange. Would sulk and depression sleep when things weren't going his way, until I caved and apologized and gave him affection. Double standards. It was okay for him to treat me how he did, but if I even had a slight attitude or talked back, it wasn't okay. I had to talk in a cute/baby voice, which I hated, to avoid having an attitude so it didn't start a fight. Slammed doors, threw things, slammed things, called me names, raised his voice, gave me dirty looks, and stormed around. Even did this in the middle of the night when I was trying to sleep and had work the next morning. Reckless driving and speeding with me in or outside of the car when mad resulted in him getting pulled over by the cops one night. One night I was trying to comfort him and place my arms around him when he was getting angry at me, and apparently I was being confrontational, so he shoved me. Insisted he would go to public places with me or doctor's appointments with me to give support and help, but would complain about helping me. If I refused help, I was unwilling to accept help, and he felt useless for not helping. Would pick apart or start a fight after social interactions because what I said or how I acted. Constantly felt anxious when hanging out with other people. Would take my belongings out of the shared room and throw them/chuck them on the floor. Got to the point where he even hid the clean drinking water in his room so I could not access it. Would take back gifts and say I didn't deserve them when he was angry and I didn't show him enough love. Even returned photos of me and threw out our belongings we had together in the bin. Broke up with me mid-argument and threatened to kick me out. One time he broke up with me, I didn't respond or give him the reaction he wanted. He proceeded to say he was S-word or not doing well. Guilt tripping bad after his behavior and actions. Made his reactions seem justified because he was so hurt and sad. Would say he just wants to be loved and talked about his childhood to make it seem okay. Would ask where I was or what I was up to when I was using his headphones, tracking. If I didn't respond in a timely manner, he would get upset even if I was busy. Would say nasty things about strangers and friends, and when I pulled him up on it, he would get mad and say I'm much worse, which wasn't true at all. Would accuse me of cheating or make passive comments about it because I was private with my phone. I was private with my phone because I was contacting friends and searching signs of emotional abuse, trying to convince myself I wasn't crazy. I would have panic attacks and they often resulted in me vomiting. One time he completely ignored it and started playing loud music so he didn't have to listen to it. But if I didn't give him help or attention when he wasn't feeling well, I was an awful girlfriend and selfish. If I tried standing up for myself or used logic in an argument, he said he didn't like my tone or I was being condescending. He even pulled out his phone one time to try to prove to me I was condescending, defensive when I was asking a simple question about why he was upset, would nitpick, judge, pick on me, make passive-aggressive comments or tell me what to do. I would get defensive, standing up for myself or setting boundaries, and that was thrown in my face too. When I tried putting my needs first, such as taking space from arguments or needing time alone, I was neglectful, and it was always about my needs. Unrealistic expectations, demanding love and attention often, including telling me to stop working so much or would get angry if I picked up an extra shift so I could save more money. But I should have enough money by now. He worked 6 to 7 days most of the week, would go to the gym and social outings on weekends. He even openly admitted he was emotionally abusive in his last relationship and choked his last partner to protect himself. I don't know how true this is, but I know for a fact he choked her and got physical with her in a fit of rage. There are also rumors about this. If your partner shows even one of these signs, get out. It's not worth your mental, physical, or emotional health at all. Don't wait around for them to physically hurt you, because when they do, you'll be in too deep and it'll be too hard to leave. I'm grateful I got out when I did because we lived with roommates, and I cannot imagine how much worse it would have been when we got our own place together. Thanks again for all the support. I've got a long road of therapy, healing, and returning back to the woman I used to be, but it's well worth it. I just hope he leaves me the hell alone. Stay safe, everyone. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One person says, "So glad to hear you got out. It's crazy when you add up all of the things that happened over the span of the relationship. Sadly, taken individually, most of these incidents would elicit a 'you need to communicate better' response or something. Please stay safe and go completely no contact. You have no reason to communicate again. And all he will try to do is gaslight you that you need to come back. Don't even allow him to try." And then the OP responds and says, "Thank you guys so much. That's exactly what would happen. Even though I would make an effort to try to de-escalate the situation, he's blocked and out of my life now." Another commenter says, "Has he tried to contact you?" And the OP says, "Not yet. He's not even aware I've left and is still at work." And another user says, "I'm glad he got out. Please don't meet him somewhere just to talk. Don't take any of his calls. Don't respond to any social or emails. He may try to convince you to come back and he'll try better. Please, please, please don't fall for it. Take care of yourself." And the OP responds and says, "Thank you so much. He will, as he has done in the past. He will be completely blocked, and I never ever want to do anything with him again." And the commenter responds again and says, "Did you leave a letter telling him you left?" And the OP says, "I did." And this is the last time we have ever heard from the OP, so I really hope the OP is doing better now and away from this abusive ex she has. And a scary situation, but luckily, I think she got out safe. Sometimes I put myself in danger, hoping to get assaulted. I'm 19 female. When I was a kid, I would get bullied for being too hairy and skinny. My nose was big too. I think I grew into my features, but I still have low self-esteem, though I have a nice body that I see as my saving grace. I've never had any male attention in my life. Never dated anyone. Obviously a virgin. I guess I'd attribute it to my confidence because I don't think I'm ugly when I dress nice. But because of my confidence/depression, I usually dress like a bum. Doesn't help that I've also had social anxiety my whole life. I had a bit of a adult video addiction when I was younger. Not actual adult videos, but more extreme adult videos. I don't really watch anything like that anymore. Anyway, whenever I travel someplace new, I like to put on makeup, wear something nice, fitted clothes, and walk alone late at night. Around midnight, there are usually groups of men my age out being drunk or doing whatever. And when I walk by, they leer, smirk, and mumble things to each other. Sometimes they follow me for a bit. I know there must be something wrong with me, but it just feels so thrilling. Part of me is scared I might be killed, but another part of me wants to be R-worded and violated, because wouldn't that mean I'm at least a little attractive? I know these thoughts are bad and immoral, but whenever this happens, I feel pretty. I feel wanted. Like maybe I'm not so ugly. I guess it's the adrenaline, I don't know. My self-image constantly changes. I don't know what's wrong with me. I know I should seek therapy. I don't even have any childhood trauma to make me turn out like this, but I did. I feel so gross sometimes. I know R-word is a disgusting and heinous act. I know victims suffer from lifelong pain, mentally and physically. I don't mean to take away from that fact, but I can't help but want it. I just want to feel desired. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One person says, "This is like waterboarding yourself because you're dehydrated. It's not going to fix your issue and is likely going to add a few new ones." Someone else says, "You don't actually want to be assaulted. You are just starving for male validation and using a high-stakes adrenaline rush to force it to happen. There is a massive difference between wanting to be desired and wanting to be a victim. Please stop playing Russian roulette with your life just to prove yourself that you're attractive. The world is full of actual monsters who won't stop just because the thrill wears off for you." And someone responds and says this, "Sounds like you need a trusted partner. Please stop jeopardizing your life." And someone else says, "Please get therapy." And someone else says, "Girl, you deserve to feel wanted and loved without having to endure something as traumatic as R-word. One day you can experiment with more freaky things. There's no shame in that, but you will never find a partner that you can trust if you don't work on yourself first. I desperately plead you to seek therapy to increase your self-worth. You have a lifetime of pleasure ahead of you, if you do. It doesn't matter if you don't have trauma in your childhood, just go to therapy and learn how to get some self-worth. I promise you, it will be worth it." And someone else says, "Jesus Christ, just get onto Tinder. You will find plenty of male attention regardless of how you look." And then the OP makes a edit to their post and says, "Edit, I really was not expecting this to blow up. Some of the comments actually sum up my thinking perfectly, and it's a little uncanny reading about it from the outside. My parents never loved each other and married each other out of convenience. I grew up being the mediator of their daily fights, so I think my view on love has always been flawed. My parents also helicoptered me, despite the unfiltered internet access, so I never met or had friends outside of school. I think this severely hindered my social skills. I don't even know how to make friends, let alone flirt. I'm trying to work on bettering myself because I do want to change, but it's just hard. Thanks for your insight, everyone." My entire family was destroyed by one man. Posted on r/true off my chest. My sister has been a nurse for the last 7 years. She and her fiance have been engaged for the past 2, and the wedding was supposed to happen about 3 months ago. However, just over a year ago, my sister had her ovaries removed after battling cancer. Due to this, she would never have been able to have children of her own. She and her fiance were devastated, but things remained okay. I spent more time with her and helped them finish renovating their house. Things were looking better. Then came their wedding. We all flew out to Jamaica for it and planned to spend a week there, while my sister and her fiance would spend an extra week there for their honeymoon. That didn't happen. 2 days before the wedding, her fiance said he couldn't go through with it. He has always wanted children, and since that was taken away from him, he didn't see himself living a happy life and calling off the marriage. Then, like the coward he is, he flew home without a word, left my sister to tell everyone. She came to my room crying and told me what happened. My wife and I just held on to her all night. The next morning, my wife stayed with my sister. The day after that, I gathered everyone and told them what happened and that the wedding was off. Both our families kind of blew up, demanding answers and trying to call the ex-fiancé. Seemed like a fight was going to break out when the bastard answered his mom's phone. He said he was sorry, and that was it. Some people went to their rooms, some went to check on my sister, and most just packed their stuff and left. My wife, sister, myself, and our parents stayed for the week, tried to keep our minds off things. We returned home and the ex-fiancé moved all of his stuff out of their house. My sister broke down. She moved in with our parents. The ex-fiancé called and basically said that they should sell the house and split the assets. My sister agreed and we're in the process of finding a buyer. Then, my sister said she was going to the house to pick up a few things. She went there and committed S-word in the garage. I was the one to find her. I called 911 and cut her down. Called my wife and parents. My wife just held me. My dad was in shock, it seemed, and my mom's cries were the worst sound I have ever heard. I don't even know where my sister's ex is staying. I don't trust myself not to kill him if I see him. I know his parents are furious and disowned him basically, called him a murderer. I am inclined to agree. My sister was the happiest girl in the world, even after the cancer and its consequences. She was happy. Our first day in Jamaica was the happiest I've ever seen her. You couldn't get the smile off her face. And now she's dead and will never smile again. And the last time I've ever seen her, she was in the garage. The last time I held her, she was cold and lifeless. The last time I hugged her, she couldn't even hug back. All because of that piece of shit. I don't even know what to do anymore. I just go into work and come home like I'm on autopilot. My wife was supposed to start her last year of school this month, but went back to work instead. Can't focus on it. My mom hasn't stopped crying, and my dad hasn't said a word. This just wasn't supposed to happen. She was only 28. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, I never feel sad when reading things on Reddit, but honestly, this made me feel sad. I can't say anything that'll make you feel better. And that goes for everyone on here. All I can say, though, is I'm sorry. Honestly, I can't even begin to think what I would do if I was in your shoes. Feel bad for your mom. I've heard my mom cry a few times. Saddest sound there is. My condolences to her. Sorry for your loss. And someone else says, there are no words that will make this right. Every time will only do so much. My condolences to you and your family. Stay far away from the ex, because putting hands on him might just lead you to being locked up for your parents, and they don't need the additional pain. May you find some peace, internet stranger. I am certainly rooting for you. And this is the one and only post the OP has ever posted. I am a intimacy deviant. I am a predator. I should be dead, but I'm not. I don't know why I haven't committed S-word yet. Hello. To these unfortunate enough to be interacting with me today, I'd like you to know what you're getting into before you start responding to me or read this post. I am a intimacy deviant. I'm into many taboo, putting it lightly things, including, having intimacy with animals, being a predator, and more. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I like those things. I can speculate all that I want, but I can't pinpoint it. I'm not asking for people to make being a predator legal. I'm not asking for people to make having intimacy with animals legal either. All I want is someone to help me. I'm addicted to adult videos, and my life is an entire joke. I have a lot of attention, but no love. I have a lot of friends, but no close relationships. Failure, rejection, and just looking in the mirror every day kills me. It turns me to deep, dark, disgusting rabbit holes and newer, more horrifying adult videos and all that terrible stuff. And it all makes me feel good. It's like a drug to me. I'm honestly terrified of myself. I'm terrified of my ulterior motives that even I'm not sure about. It feels like there's another me, subliminally controlling the real me. I know there's a part of me that cares for people and loves people, but come on now. Predators and animal intimacy people can't truly love, now can they? I can't truly love, therefore no one can love me. I am a useless sack of meat that society is eventually going to put down in an electric chair. And you know what? F it. I will accept that fate. Almost every day on Reddit, I see posts regarding abuse and how horrible it is. I understand it. It is a terrible thing. I have nothing but condolences to victims of abuse. But I'm also conflicted. I have to resist committing an S-word because I get off to that disgusting filth. One thing I learned from therapy is that intimacy problems like this can't be cured. They can only be ignored and blocked from your mind. Thing is, it's hard when people are constantly clamoring for your death, and for good reason too. No one wants someone hurting their kids. I get that. I wouldn't want that happening if I had kids. I'll once again use the drug metaphor. It's bad and illegal, but I'm hooked. There's no justifying me. I should be dead. And yet I'm too much of a coward to commit S-word. Please, someone talk to me. I need to tell people. This can't stay bottled up. I need someone to know. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, I think I might understand you to some degree. It's not that you're attracted to those things, but that you've been addicted to adult videos for so long, you've sort of escalated your interests over time until they've ended up limitless in their depravity. I don't know if this is the case for you, but maybe you just need to search for other legal forms of depravity. And the OP responds and says, thanks for the feedback. I think that's pretty much right. I am effed up. I've been effed up. But I can't change myself. That's my problem. I would give my lung to someone if they promised I could be someone else. Another user says, I'm sorry to hear this. I can't say I've been in your position. I'm certainly not condoning your thoughts, but thankfully, they are just that as of right now. While it may seem bleak, there may be hope. The first step to solving a problem is admitting it exists, which you already have done. You are not rationalize it or making excuses. You admit that you have a problem. For that, I applaud you. The next step, though, is seeking help. I'm honestly not sure how to go about this because many psychiatrists are unwilling to work with people like you, despite the fact that they very well may be protecting children in the future. I would highly recommend you talk to a therapist. It sounds like there may be other underlying issues at hand. And the OP responds and says, yeah, I've seen therapists. They're great people, really. I can talk to them and all that stuff, but the reason I'm putting this here is because I don't want them being alerted that I want to commit S-word. It's not like I'm going to do it anyways. I can't hold a butter knife without feeling extremely hesitant and shaky. And then one commenter gets into a long paragraphs of stuff that I don't understand and I'm not going to read, but the OP then responds and says something terrifying. The OP says, I don't know. I just feel like that entire line of thinking is a bit sideways. And he says here, I'm literally a threat to children. You wouldn't want someone with a fantasy of crashing cars drive your car, would you? And that haunts me. I mean, he just says it straight up. I mean, obviously, the main post, he says it straight up as well, but just for him to say it so bluntly, I am literally a threat to children, is terrifying. I mean, like, just saying that sentence feels wrong. And this guy typed it out. And I mean, this is the last post the OP has ever posted on his profile. Oh my God. I really hope this OP just got into, therapy right away, because if not, what he could have done or has done is terrifying. I mean, like, I'm just being completely honest here. And this was posted 9 years ago. Who knows where the OP is now? We just have to hope and pray that he was able to, restrain himself and get into some therapy that specializes in this sort of stuff. But, oh boy, it's so scary how people are out there. I mean, like, how people out in society that we pass by every single day are people like this. I mean, that is so scary. That is so scary for people. He literally just said, I am literally a threat to children. That is terrifying. That is so scary. It's mind-blowing how people like this exist. And also, not to mention, he also enjoys watching animals and humans do things intimately. I mean, this guy is just a threat to society, and who knows where he is now. But, it's just scary to think that people out there are like this guy, and they just walk free on the streets. I am pregnant, and my husband has been sleeping with my mother. Originally posted to r/true off my chest. Hello. Several friends of mine and relatives follow my main Reddit account, so I've made a new one to avoid creating more drama. I, 26 female, have found out my husband, 30 male, is having intimacy with my mother, 52 female. I honestly don't know how to react. I'm 4 months pregnant, and I'm trying not to stress since it's bad for the baby. I honestly had suspicions about my husband cheating. When I announced my pregnancy, he seemed happy. Over the moon, actually. He was kissing me and telling me how lucky he was to have me, but now he changed. About 2 weeks after my surprise announcement, he stopped hugging me and kissing me like usual. He stopped eating the meals I'd make for him after work and said he already ate some fast food or something. I also noticed he had changed his lock screen, which was a picture of us. Not sure if that meant anything, to be honest. I found out 3 days ago. I went through his phone while he was in the shower and found text messages, videos, pictures. I'm sick to my stomach thinking about what I saw. I saw pictures of my mom in lingerie, and he was replying with pictures of his junk, saying he was turned on. I even saw a message of regret. He had said that maybe they should stop since he didn't want to hurt me, but my mom said I wouldn't get hurt as long as they kept it all a secret. But what angered me the most was the message she sent a few days ago. I'll quote it here so anyone reading this can get an idea of how serious their affair is and has been. Quote, I love you so much, more than you think. You've helped me through the passing of my beloved ex-husband, and for that I truly thank you. I know it is hard for you to keep a secret like this. For me it is too. I love my daughter with all my heart, but she will have to accept eventually that love is love, and that the heart wants what it wants. Our hearts want each other. I thought that ever since my husband died, nobody would ever love me because I'm just an old woman. But you have shown me to love myself and made me feel young and attractive again. Let's keep having fun and cherishing each other. I think it's important to know my father passed away about 5 years ago from a stroke, and my mother said she refused to get back into dating or romance because my father is her forever love and only. It's absolute BS. I'm crushed. And it's the fact that I know they had intimacy after that message because that was the night he didn't come home until 1 in the morning due to work and paid overtime. I actually threw up after reading that message. I have screenshots of the messages and have sent the videos to myself. Of course, I deleted them on his phone, so it looked like he never sent me anything. I am numb. I am confused. I am hurt so bad. I can't even cry because I refuse to believe it. My husband is at work. I'm sitting on the edge of my bed writing this. Any advice, please? I'm desperate for just a little bit of anything, really. This baby in me is honestly the only thing preventing me from confrontation. I'm afraid that confronting them now will cause too much stress and anger, and I want the best for my child. At this point, all I want to do is have my baby. Christmas is soon, and I don't want to ruin it for the family. I had also planned on announcing my pregnancy that day. Please help me. Hello. Thank you all so much for the support, really. You don't understand how much it means to me to see how many strangers online wishing me well. I did not expect my post to gain this much attention. Around 2 hours ago, I confronted my husband when he came home from work. I told him I know everything. I showed him the pictures and messages. At first, he denied, but when I showed him the evidence, he started crying. Actually crying. He had the nerve to cry and get on his knees while holding and caressing my stomach. He told me that I would be a bad mother if I left him and raised my child without a father because a baby needs a dad in their life to fully grow mentally and physically. I honestly don't know what to say at that except that it's pure BS. I told him that I was contacting a lawyer in order to file for divorce. I had already packed my things before he came home. I'm currently staying at a local motel about 30 minutes away from my home. I have asked my cousin if I can stay with her for a few days and she has agreed. I'm getting everything sorted from there. My husband has been blowing up my phone with messages and apologies. He's told me that if I take him back, he won't do anything to hurt me ever again, and he will cut all ties with my mother. As for her, I've also confronted her. I messaged her once I got to my motel. I told her I was pregnant and that she will never get to see her grandchild. She has not responded yet. I have also moved all of my finances that I had with my husband in its shares bank account to my personal bank account. You don't understand how grateful and appreciative I am for the support. I apologize that I could not reply to all the personal messages I've been receiving as well. It's been hell. I'll try my best to update if my mother does end up replying to me. Again, thank you all so much. Edit number 2, I am safe. I've been receiving a lot of messages from those who are concerned for my well-being. I am safe and I'm finally at my cousin's house. Thank you all once again for the supportive messages and replies. I also would like to thank you all for the rewards. They mean so much to me. My mental health is getting better every single day. All thanks to you amazing people for offering me advice and kind words. I have chosen to cut all ties off with my mother. She messaged me just a few hours ago, and I honestly do not have the heart to reply. It's also made me rethink my situation. She said, quote, "I'm so sorry for the pain and hurt I've caused you. It was never meant to go this far. I love you so much, with every inch of my heart, but you are not the victim. How dare you hold this against me and take away my right to see my one and only grandbaby? You are cruel. If you do this, you will forever live life regretting. Please do not do this to me. I am your mother. I love you. I have broken up with my husband's name. We are no longer on speaking terms. Please push past this. A child cannot be raised without a father or grandmother. I love you. My name, which will not be shared. Please call me. I cut out some more personal things from the text. I have a lawyer, and I'm in the process of looking for an apartment. I have no intention on allowing either my former husband or mother into my child's life, but I'm also afraid that my child will grow up deprived of many child-father bonding experiences. This may be my last update, as I want to move on and away from all of this. As for my husband, his messages have gone quiet, which I'm thankful for. My cousin has been helping me through this and is currently the only family member other than my mom and husband who knows about the affair. I'm very appreciative to all the support. I hope you all have an amazing holiday. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, contact a lawyer, organize your finances, map out a game plan. If there is someone you can trust, maybe move in with them. Don't keep this to yourself. Once you know what you're gonna do, leave or kick them out, let everyone know what has been going on. Do not let them get away with this. And someone else says, no parent can confess to loving their kids so much and turn around and do this to them. Sorry, but her actions are selfish, disgusting, and a total betrayal to her family. Your husband or sperm donor at this point is just as bad. You need to take care of yourself and your baby first. You two are the only ones that matter in this. Those two deserve no loyalty. Talk to a lawyer and find out what your rights are. Start to get your ducks in a row to take care of yourself. Then spread it far and wide what treacherous people your mother and your husband are. And we have never heard from the OP ever again. I used to send kids and women videos of people dying when I was a teen. When I was a teenager, I was in a group and I was into trolling. Then they started to send me violent videos of my character being killed, and then I uploaded the scene from GTA 5 where Trevor gets burned alive. Then they sent me more inappropriate videos like that from cartoons, movies, and video games, so I send them videos of people dying. I have since left the group, but now I feel really bad because I sent videos of people dying to kids and women, and mostly disturbing and traumatizing them for life, and really, it's all my fault. I know I was young and they started it, but I should have known better about sending, and this is not a mistake. I have hurt people over this. Women and kids are mostly innocent, are more sensitive and disturbed by this type of content, and I feel horrible for them. I hope they're okay and have gotten help. As for me, I ruined my life. I'm a child and women abuser, and really I deserve the karma that will hit me because it's my fault. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, I wish I could tell you this isn't a big deal, but it is. I've been sent some terrible, evil stuff by trolls, and as a kid, some of it really traumatized me. One person sent me a horrific video, and I still think about it after all these years later. But what is important is the next step. You know it was wrong. You feel bad. Do better. Take this chance in what you are feeling to do the right thing. There have been a ton of studies done that basically prove that when in a group, social pressure and the acceptance of others can lead to people doing really bad things, so it isn't even 100% on you. You were young and in it with some terrible people. The fact that it haunts you proves you aren't bad. And someone else says, my brother used to do this kind of thing. He did it to me until I went numb and stopped crying. He thought it was funny. It made him laugh. He was abusive in other ways too, and my mom got it bad. He ended up committing an S-word. All I can say is stop doing it. Treat others kindly, especially those who trust you enough to let you get close to them. And someone else says, you might need to seek professional help. My son killed his ex-girlfriend. This is a throwaway account with different details to not expose my family, because there are articles of this out there, and I want to keep my privacy because it includes my entire family who did nothing wrong. It's been 5 years today, and I still can't believe this. I'm so ashamed of being this person's father, and having him will always be my biggest regret and mistake. 6 years ago, he got into a relationship with his classmate, who was also the daughter of one of my best friends. Her dad and I were childhood best friends. They were both 15 years old. They didn't last a while, maybe 2 months, and they broke up like kids do. The next year around this time, she went missing. We live in a small village of about 2,500 people. We all went out to look for her all week long with no success. A few kids ended up finding her body inside of a body bag on their way to school, dumped into a dumpster. She was unclothed with multiple stab wounds all over her, and she was covered in blood. They found the knife dumped with her, and my son's fingerprints were all over it. I had absolutely no idea about any of it because he came home at around 9 p.m. in clean clothes, and he even helped search for her. He confessed about all of it as soon as he was faced with the evidence, and then prosecuted him as an adult. And he got 25 years in prison. And I don't feel bad for him at all. I never visited him after that. The last time I saw him was when he was sentenced to prison at the courthouse, which happened just 2 months later because he immediately confessed everything. Ever since then, our entire community has shunned us. My friend spit in my face in front of the entire village, and he would have killed me if people didn't intervene. And I didn't, and couldn't even blame him for it, because I have 2 daughters. And I get it completely. I publicly disowned him, and so did our entire family. But the guilt and shame was just too much. I lost all my friends, and I didn't have the heart to show my face in that village anymore. So a couple of months later, we sold our house and we moved to a completely different country and continent where we didn't know anyone. I lived in that village my entire life. All my friends and family were there. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but it was good for my family. I hate my son for what he did to that poor girl. And I hate him for destroying our family's entire life. And my hate for him for making one of my very best friends go through the worst pain a father could ever experience. Every single year on this day, I feel it all over again, like it's just happened. And I feel like absolute shit. He deserves every single minute he gets in that prison, and if it was up to me, I would never let him out. He deserves to rot in there. And let's get into the top comments. One person says, "Wow, that was sad to read. I'm so sorry. Did he have any remorse or showed no sympathy/emotion?" And the OP said, "He was crying, but because of the sentence." Someone else says, "There's nothing I can say except I'm sorry for what happened to the girl and everything that happened to you. I hope you can move on, and life will show its bright side again." Someone else says, in Spanish, there's a saying, "Pueblo chico, infierno grande." You yourself know if you did something wrong. Parenting a murderer is not one of those things, as long as you didn't incite him. And the OP said, "I absolutely did not encourage him to do that. I have 2 daughters. If I knew that he even just beat her, I would have beat his ass. You don't mess with a man's little daughter, and especially not what he did. He didn't just kill her. He did many more things that I can't say on here." I am a veteran, and I can't get through a day without being on drugs or alcohol. I don't even know why I'm posting this. I've thought about trying to get an outside perspective of my situation for a while. I don't know. I'm 26, married with 2 kids, and I am a veteran with PTSD. I've been out of the military for about 3 to 4 years. I got out after my last 8-month trip to Afghanistan to try and settle down with a woman I felt like I loved. I never wanted to go through missing someone again. Maybe this was the biggest mistake I made. and it came from the shock of being torn away from everything I loved and sent to a shithole. One of my buddy's wife left him over there and started mailing him his possessions. Eventually, he committed S-word, not far from where I was working one night. I feel like my own people caused this death. I've always felt our senior NCOs turned their backs on him. When we heard gunshots that night, the first thing my boss said was, "I hope that's not who I think it is." Things just hadn't been the same since I left. I came back so messed up that the first thing I did was push away every single friend and family member I have. I guess these last few years I've been disassociating because I just don't remember anything. I know that I'm in pain. I've been to more therapists than I can count. And I've taken just about every antipsychotic there is. SSRIs, all that bullshit. My drugs of choice are morphine and weed. It's the only thing that makes life feel livable. The amount of weed I smoke isn't even sustainable. I smoke all day just to forget. I've gone through so much weed in 2 weeks or less. I can't even get started on my opiate use, but I haven't started injecting yet. I've tried, but I still have trouble hitting a vein. At some point, I probably will. I've tried going without taking stuff. I just can't stand being left in my own thoughts. It's too painful to not be messed up, I guess. I usually detox from opiates every single month after I run out of morphine. When I do, I just smoke as much weed and drink as much as I can. I just lose my shit if I have nothing to take. Alcohol is my last resort when I'm out of everything else. I feel like I've made so many mistakes. I dream of just taking off and starting a new life somewhere in China or Taiwan, teaching English and forgetting everything here. A big part of me feels like only a major dramatic change would help me not feel this way anymore. Even my marriage, I'm starting to regret, because I realize I'm just not happy. If I were, maybe I wouldn't need to medicate like I do. I love my kids though. They are what keep me going. But even that, it's only just enough to keep me going. I grew up a effed up life, poor ass welfare family bouncing from projects to projects. Brothers finding needles in the yard and bringing them in. My brothers getting robbed for our groceries. Way too much to go over. I have faced adversity before. I just don't know how I'm supposed to keep going or ever get to the point where life is just livable. I don't know how normal people get through the day because I just can't imagine it anymore. I know I need a hobby, something to take my mind off of using, but since I left the military, I just have no fulfillment anymore. Nothing will ever be the same, and I sometimes still feel like I'm mourning pretty hard. I don't really know what to do or how to get better. I don't think rehab or anything inpatient would help me until I figure out and address what's driving me to be this way. Not to mention I couldn't afford it. I don't know how to live life anymore. I still feel like this is something getting worse and worse, and I don't have a clue how to address it. I'm not happy or fulfilled at home, or anywhere for that matter. What good would quitting do except drive me crazy? The VA is no help. They're more useless than anything. I've been down that road. I'm willing to listen and take advice, especially from those who might have been in and overcome a funk like this. I feel like I'm slowly dying, and my life is passing me by. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, "Unless you're cool with your kids one day finding you dead, OD'd, you have to find your own inner motivation to get well again. Why do you think rehab won't help you? People go to school for nearly a decade just to solve problems like yours. And you're just gonna blow that off? There are doctors who have been fixing these kinds of problems since before you were born. Find one with a good reputation and follow their instructions to the letter. It's a simple equation. I feel like shit plus follow doctor's orders equals I don't feel like shit anymore. It might take time and effort, but the thing about hitting rock bottom is there's nowhere left to go except up." Confessions of a Serial Cheater. Nothing in this post is intended to excuse or minimize what I have done. I am climbing my way up from rock bottom, and I just want to tell my story. For the entirety of my adult life, I have sought validation through intimacy. I grew up chubby, homeschooled, and Catholic in a small town in Alaska. I was one of 8 kids, raised by a mom who did her best and a dad who was cruel when he wasn't absent. My dad was a sad, angry man who was physically and mentally abusing our family. The only thing I can remember ever feeling towards him was fear. He often commented on my weight and belittled me for being more of a shy, creative, nerdy kid. But he isn't the villain of this story. I am. As I entered adulthood, I started getting attention from women. My Catholic guilt kept me from trying anything intimate until I was 18, but once I started, I never stopped. I bounced between intimate partners for years without committing to a relationship because it allowed me to justify my multiple partners without feeling like a cheater. But I still lied to them. I told them they were the only one or downplayed / minimized my relationship with other women. It was never about the intimacy. It was the validation I felt from being chosen. The feeling of someone wanting me, choosing me, being attracted to me, sometimes even loving me. I didn't feel like the overweight, scared child I once was. It was a maladaptive coping mechanism that I reinforced year after year. It was the only way I knew how to get that need met. When I was 26, I met an incredible woman. Let's call her Jane. And things started out as casual as any of my previous relationships. Neither of us went into seeking anything serious, but as time went on, we fell in love. I committed to a relationship with her, but I hadn't really. I still had an ongoing intimate relationship with someone else, which Jane discovered fairly quickly into our relationship. I ended things with the other woman, but I downplayed the situation to Jane. I told her just enough of the truth that she'd forgive me. I genuinely believed at the time that I'd be able to be only with Jane. I wouldn't need anyone else because I loved her. I told myself I'd never cheat again and I'd be a good and loyal man from now on, and I could just put it in the past. What a stupid, selfish fool I was. I started off my relationship with a lie. I was faithful for a long time after that. How long exactly, I can't remember. But there was always this underlying shame whenever I was with Jane. And because I started the relationship with lies, it only got easier to lie. That craving for validation never went away, and I eventually cheated again. I had all the love and validation anyone could ever need with Jane, but in my effed up brain, it somehow felt more honest with someone new. As if my partner was obligated to tell me I'm good enough, whereas someone new was not. So I believed it more. I didn't believe the woman I loved when she said I was good enough because she loved me too much. Isn't that the most pathetic thing you've ever heard in your life? Jane caught me cheating 2 other times, but there was many more. After every time, I told myself I'd never do it again and that I was going to change. Jane even supported me. She believed in me. I tried to fix whatever was broken in my brain, but because I was never fully honest, I could never really confront whatever deep insecurity I was dragging around. I wasn't honest with Jane, my friends, my family, not even my therapist. I only ever gave a watered-down version of the truth, while internally I was just trying to will myself into being a better person without any help. I was so afraid of telling the whole truth that it just became a reflex to lie. Small lies lead to big lies, and those lies just grew so out of control that I was living multiple lives, multiple versions of myself. This pattern continued for roughly 7 years with Jane. 7 years I took from this incredible woman. 7 years where she never fully knew the man she was with. Some of my closest friends didn't even know she existed. I knew I needed help, I wanted to change, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. I dug myself too deep. So, I broke up with Jane. I lied to her again as to my reasoning for the breakup. I just needed to get away from her. I knew I was hurting her and the constant shame I felt was overwhelming. But we were so close for so long, dependent on each other, it was hard to stay apart for long. We drifted back together after a month or so. She was comfortable, familiar, a source of love and validations, and I was a selfish monster. I knew that couldn't possibly last. How could it when I told her so many lies? But I let it continue. I knew I needed to break up, but I kept putting it off. I was a coward. I even met someone new. Let's call her Laura. I fell for Laura so hard and so fast, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. I felt like she was all I'd ever need. I wanted a fresh start, free of the shame of my lies and my secrets. And you know what I did to get there? I lied again. I lied to Laura and said she was the only one while I continued to put off ending things with Jane. Eventually, I got the courage and broke up with Jane, but it was too little too late. Through some sort of karmic justice, they met each other the next day. All my lies were exposed. I tried to lie my way into an honest relationship with Laura because that somehow made sense in my broken brain. Well, I got what I deserved. My world exploded. I lost Laura. I hurt Jane more than I could possibly fathom. I lost so many friends who finally saw me for what I actually am. I knew I was stuck in this unhealthy pattern for a long time, but now I actually had the full weight of my sins crushing me. I can hardly believe I let things go this far. My ability to compartmentalize and carry on doing this for years is truly scary. I couldn't lie anymore. I told everyone everything. For the first time in maybe my entire 33 years of life, I was honest. I didn't just confess to Laura and Jane. I confessed to everyone. I told my mom, my friends, my siblings, my therapist, the nurse who scheduled my appointment, anyone I could about all the pain I had caused. I realized just how distant I have felt from all of them for years because I was always hiding some part of myself. I was so tangled in a mess of lies that I became a different version of myself with all of them for so long, and it wasn't until I told the truth that I realized how much that was tearing my goddamn soul apart. To the few people who actually take the time to read this, let me just say, the truth will set you free. I lost nearly everything I loved because I was too afraid of the truth. I felt so much shame for so many years because I wasn't able to confront the broken part of myself that allowed me to hurt the people I loved until I was honest. I will forever regret the pain I have caused. I have dreamt about Laura almost every night since, and then I wake up feeling lonelier than I've ever felt. I am haunted by the pain I have caused Laura and Jane and so many other amazing people with my selfish and destructive need for validation. I've left them with scars that will last a lifetime. All I can do now is rebuild myself into a better man. I'm going forward with radical honesty, going to therapy, finally asking for help, and using every resource I can to fix myself. I won't stop until I become someone worthy of love that I've been shown by people I never deserved. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, please don't date anyone for a couple of years. I hope you continue to see a therapist, but healing takes time and you're just going to hurt someone if you get into another relationship. I was cheated on by an ex and the trauma from that lasted more than 2 decades. And the OP responds and says, I don't plan on it. Just like my brain didn't get broken overnight, it won't get fixed overnight. I don't want to subject another person to my bullshit until I am a safe person to love. I SA'd my professor when I was in college, and I feel absolutely horrible. It's been 11 years since this incident. I was 20 and in college. I was a bit of a, promiscuous person. I slept with a ton of dudes. I went out of my way to try and look as attractive as possible. I constantly wore revealing outfits. I used to pick out men who I wanted to sleep with and went out of my way to try and seduce them, basically. For me, it was kind of a power trip. I had one professor who I was very attracted to. Fit, handsome guy, looked kind of like Salah, the soccer player. I wanted to sleep with him really badly, so I would talk to him and flirt with him after class a lot. We got friendly, and I thought he was ready, so to speak, to take it to the next level. So I got extra flirty one day. He looked kind of shy, but he was friendly enough in responding. And then I noticed he was turned on, clear as day, in his pants. I don't even know what came over me, but I just smiled at him and put my hand up his shirt so I felt his abs. Then reached down into his groin area. I tugged at it, and he sort of yelled and said, "Please, please stop." The whole encounter lasted maybe 6 to 7 seconds. I guess he was paralyzed by what I did that he didn't respond right away. I wasn't even looking at his face until then. But when I did, he looked horrified. I don't know why I just automatically assumed he would be into it, but he looked really red in the face and terrified at what I just did. I just said I was sorry, and then I left his office. I finished the class, but I never looked him in the eyes again. His face after I did that still makes me feel horribly guilty. I could tell he was visibly shaken by what I did. It feels even worse because I didn't merely just touch him over his pants. I fully reached down and grabbed the whole thing. I wouldn't end my promiscuous phase yet, but I definitely slowed down. At 21, I found my current husband, who I married at 23. I have 3 kids now, so I am basically a full-time mom. My husband has zero idea what I did, nor will I ever tell him. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One person says, "That's a good way to ruin a man's life." And someone else says, "You should feel horrible about it. Carry that weight all the way to the grave, to be honest. When you stop feeling bad about it, you've stopped acknowledging your fault." I physically harmed my nephews, and I deeply regret it. This isn't one isolated incident. This was several. I'm younger than my sister by 14 years. She had her first son when I was 5 years old and her second son when I was 7. She lived with me and my parents for the majority of my childhood, and so did my nephews. My parents were very neglectful, and so was my sister. Taking care of my nephews was my job almost immediately. When I was 12, I was forced to share a Jack and Jill style bathroom with them. They'd stay up all night screaming, yelling, and jumping around. They would sneak into my room and steal my things, and my parents didn't do anything about it. It got to the point that I was sleep deprived, juggling school, kids, and my parents' expectations. If they'd get too loud and wake me up, I'd threaten them. Eventually, it led to hitting. At some point, I realized what I was becoming and what I was doing and tried to distance myself from them as much as I could. I know I hurt them and I did irreversible damage. I will never forgive myself for that. I don't expect them to ever forgive me either. It happened again when I was 18. I had a full-time job and my sister moved back in with us. I was trying to get my own apartment, but all my money and time outside of work was spent taking care of kids that were not mine. I was expected to take care of them full-time, as well as take care of the house while my sister sat back and relaxed. I snapped. I hit them when they talked back to me more than once. I know their mother did it too. I took the first chance I had to move away and have stayed away since. I've personally given them so much trauma when they needed me the most. I don't ever plan on having kids of my own. I can't trust myself to not repeat my mistakes. I'm a monster. I hate that version of myself, and I will regret harming them until the day that I die. I love them so much, and I hurt them so badly. I'm 32 now. The only person I've told about this is my husband. He's tried to console me, but I know I don't deserve it. I feel guilty for even letting him try to comfort me. Update. It's been an emotional roller coaster, but for those interested, I reached out to them via email after consulting my therapist. They accepted my apologies and things are good. We've been playing video games together in our spare time the past couple of days, and I'm really enjoying the time we've spent with them. They have already gotten therapists and are refusing to let me pay for anything. I've set aside a portion of my savings for them, so if they're ever in a bind, I can help them financially. I will be helping the oldest welcome their little girl into the world in August, and I couldn't be more excited. I still don't plan on having children of my own, but I'm looking into going to school to become an elementary teacher, my dream job. Thank you so much for all the kind words. I truly never expected so many people to be kind to me. It means the world, and it's definitely changed my life for the better. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, "You're not a monster." As others have said, the fact that you feel guilt and remorse. Did everything possible to remove yourself from the situation to prevent it happening again, and recognize your weakness and your fear of having your own children is proof of this. You made a horrible mistake and should feel guilty, but you do. So you're human, not a monster. My ex-wife is a monster. She killed our daughter. Has never apologized to anyone. Has never accepted responsibility for her actions. Makes every attempt to destroy her mother's life, who cared for our daughter during the tiny amount of time she lived after being shaken while I was in the army, and she was in prison. That's a monster. Try to make amends, apologize to your nephews, tell them how you feel. Make them aware you're available to them and be accepting of their response. Even if they tell you to go F yourself, that's their right. It will be a healing experience for you and them regardless, and maybe, just maybe, they will be understanding, and you can start to rebuild a relationship with them. I'm so sorry you've been through this, and I hope so much that something positive can be salvaged by it. And someone else says, children should not be raised by children. That's how stuff like this happens. Apologize to them and forgive yourself. You were a child. They were not supposed to be your responsibility. And another user has a more differing opinion. They say, well, you're an abusive POS. Do yourself a favor and turn yourself in. You are a danger to children and should not be around them. There is no excuse for your actions, even though your post is full of excuses. You never actually take responsibility. My nephew was shaken by his father 3 times before signs started to show. Maybe I'm a little biased, but people like you deserve nothing. Edit. Everyone defending OP is equally as bad and enabling. Even the one saying UOP was a kid at the time. What about the incident when OP was 18? OP will do this to any kid who talks back for the rest of their life. And the OP responds and says, I'm sorry. My post wasn't meant to be filled with excuses because I have none. I know what I did was wrong and I was old enough to know better at the time. I tried to seek legal action a few years ago and my therapist at the time wouldn't listen. I don't plan on having kids. I know I can't be trusted. I don't babysit for anyone else either. I made a lot of mistakes and there's nothing I can do to reverse the damage I did. I'm trying to make up for it in any way I can.